Are we ready to go?
ARB, you're live. We're recording. Phone lines are open. You're good to go.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome to the Town of East Hampton Architectural Review Board meeting of March 24th, 2022. My name is Kathleen Cunningham, I'm the chair of the Architectural Review Board. Welcome to this meeting. I want to thank all our hardworking board members and staff, including Julie Akala, and Nora Jacobs, Will Highland, and Eric Shantz of the Planning Department. We have some new applications, application forms that the public will be getting now. We're changing things around a little bit here to streamline the process, hopefully to make it easier for applicants and board members and staff alike. So we appreciate your patience with this process, and we will be having professional planner input on several of the applications that we'll be seeing tonight. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of March 10th, 2022, and I'll be abstaining from that vote. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Julie, just for the record, I wasn't there. Okay, now we're on to our first agenda item, which is business signs, Sun and Sound owners, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-5-1-12, 22 Soundview Drive, Montauk. Frank, this is yours. Is the applicant online? The applicant is...
Stand by, please.
Excuse me?
Stand by, please.
Okay.
We're letting everybody in.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, we also have Ocean Graphics on the line. I'm going to unmute number ending in 1220 now.
Okay, that's fine. Who is representing Ocean Graphics?
Hi, this is Will McClear, Ocean Graphics.
Will, hi, Will. Can you hear us okay? Because we'd like to proceed.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So Frank, this is yours.
Great. Good afternoon. This is Sun and Sound Hotel or Motel in Montauk. The applicant is proposing an 8-foot high sign, 24 square feet in total.
Excuse me, board, can you please read this into the agenda?
I did. I read it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead,
repeating
Frank.
that. So they're proposing a sign in front of that proposing a 24 square foot sign, double-sided, 3 foot by 4 foot sign, 8 foot high. This would be set back comfortably from the street. I was not able on my site visit to get the distance from the street given the wind and the tape measure, but you'll see let's go to the application package. That's probably the good place to start. I think page 3. There we go. That's good. So that's a rendering of where the proposed sign will go. So it's perpendicular to the street, behind the existing post fence. The colors are black and gold or yellow on a white background. This seems an appropriate location, set comfortably back from the street. Feel free to go through the existing photos of the site. Just looking back, here's the lot, and then you can see the last 2 photos, or a few photos. So it's there to the right where it says Sun and Sound. Presumably that gets removed and replaced, and where those Where those evergreens are is where the proposed sign would go. As a question for the applicant, is there going to be a light on this sign?
Yes, it's an integrated LED hood that's built into the frame of the sign.
Okay. On the top, presumably. Okay. Can we
Specs
can we-
for that?
can we show the go back to the applicant's package? The other document. Next page. There should be a sheet somewhere showing the sign itself. Do we not have that? I have that in my packet.
I do too. Yeah. It looks like this. Right?
Can you hold that up?
Whoops. That's not coming out very clearly, but anyway, there. Ah,
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to the
doesn't show
So
on the
that sheet-
picture where the light will be.
I'm assuming it's integrated on top with a it's integrated, bathing it from the top.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
a flat hood that overhangs on either side, just enough to cast the light down the face.
Okay.
Julie, do we have that in the files, or can we ask Will to show his screen if he has that?
I've been looking at
well-
my file.
Will, can you please stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't in my files, whatever it was.
I was also wondering if Will, the applicant, there we go.
There it is. There it is.
So Will, the applicant, can you
It
can you
says,
tell us where the lighting is? Under top overhang. Okay.
Yeah, there's
So
that
it sounds like it's-
floor, that's hood that houses the strip lights.
Okay.
It's a fun sign.
It's a nice looking sign. Yes, it's a very nice looking sign. I agree with that. I have two questions. One is, and it partly because I'm new to this process, but wouldn't we ordinarily ask for the specs for the lighting, and shouldn't they be depicted on this sign? And the second question is, we did ask the applicant to depict on the survey the actual distance. I mean, I know we have a photograph now, we have a rendering of where the sign will go, but my concern is that without the survey updated to include the actual site of the sign, the building inspector, we're trying to gather all this information onto one sheet so that if the building inspector has to make an inspection, they can see where the sign is supposed to be on the survey dimensionally. I know there's a little red indicator now about where the sign is going to go, but I didn't get a sense of the dimensions of, how far back it was. It's quite small. Even if just a little, pop out to say it's X number of feet in and, so on, just to, because
We did ask for that, Kathy. We did ask for that. This is the second time this has been up. We did
Right.
ask for that on the first review, and you're correct that it's not. The dimension is not appearing on anywhere.
Right. So,
We could arbitrarily give a measurement, but, we're not property surveyors, so to get an exact measurement to a property line for you is difficult. I would say it's probably at least 5 feet from the property line back, because the property line is right on the edge of that bed. So maybe, 3 to 5 feet, but without
What if we got
proper equipment and, surveys, I can't really give an accurate detail.
a dimension from the face of the structure that it sits against? Would that suffice?
I think
I mean, we
if
could do that. In the past, I've always just been within the bounds of the property line is usually sufficient.
Right. Well, I could use some help here from my veteran board members and from council. What is the typical process here? It seems to me, at least in my experience with agencies like this, that having all the information in one spot so that when an inspection has to happen, there aren't multiple pages or documents that have to be referenced for the building inspector to look at. Generally speaking, the survey is the go-to document. And it's my, we did ask for that to be depicted on the survey. I recognize that the sign people can't do that, but
The survey is very old as well.
not to mention that the survey's old. I don't mean to belabor this because frankly, I think the sign is nice. I think where they're proposing it is appropriate, but without having it marked properly on the survey, I feel a sense of obligation to a protocol for, the future of this property, for the next time something comes up, at least this is properly depicted. I can use some, what do other board?
I agree that, even for the sake of this approval this time, how do we specify in the resolution where the location is if it's,
right,
not as depicted on the survey? So
right,
it really helps them in the future too, as you said. So, I don't think that it's that lengthy of a process to have somebody mark it up on the survey, the location of the proposed sign.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past, many of our signs were replacements. We don't deal with many de novo signs, but I think we would need to know exactly where it's going. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, as long as the rest of the board, Diane, do you have a similar feeling? As Franz,
Yes.
I'd like to hear from everybody.
Yes.
Kath, this also might be a situation where if it's commercial property, I don't know, is something like this could add to the site plan or?
I guess, but generally, I know even for when I had 7 years on planning board, so I'm familiar with site plan, and often the site plan wasn't always the thing that the building inspector went to too. They usually went to the survey. We had, missed signals because the survey said one thing, the site plan said something else. So I think, are you suggesting they propose a site plan?
No, I was proposing possibly an alternative if they didn't want to pay a surveyor.
Yeah,
it might be easier to, but I agree it has to be, identified in one of those documents that the building department can access.
Right. Okay, well then, if you think site plan is sufficient, I'd prefer it was a survey myself, but I know that's more expensive. I understand that, and I have empathy for the applicant in that respect.
Well, I think that they're going to require a survey anyway to issue the CO for it, possibly.
Okay. All right.
Let me ask, would it suffice to put, just to help the applicant, would it help dimensionally to call out what is the distance of the sign from the face of the existing structure that it's going up against? That way they don't have to locate the property line and it's recorded that it's, it's an offset from something that's on the survey.
That seems different than the way that we've done it in other applications, and I'm wary of creating a new precedent that is inconsistent, but I will ask Eric or Will what they think about.
I see that as a practical solution to this, but if the practice is to have it depicted on the survey and the survey is dependent on the property line, measuring from the property line, I get
from
it.
where, Kathy? Like, what would it be like? How would you know? You turn around and walk 20 paces from the front of the building in which direction? Like, it just.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. I get it. I think what Frank is discussing is a decent workaround, but it doesn't seem to me that it fits in the pattern of, and it's not consistent with this board's practice. If this board's practice is to have it depicted on the survey, and that is something I support, then I think we should just ask to have it depicted on the survey in the traditional methods. And with apologies that it's going to cost money, but I don't know what else to do.
I mean, if I could chime in, I've done several hundred of these, and I've never had to have a survey done with specific pinpoint location of it. Typically, it's been, as long as it's within the property lines and it's in an appropriate location, it's been approved. I mean, we marked it out on the survey, showing it with the lines, and I've never had an issue before.
Esperanza, do you have something to add?
I mean, I'm partially in agreement with the fact that it should be more specifically cited or plotted on the survey, but at the same time, I agree with Will. This has never been in the past something that we have had a requirement to have a survey or plot a sign on a survey. I don't recall that.
Okay,
If the board is satisfied that it's, you know, that's the location and it's marked, I think that's fine. I actually have to apologize. I didn't realize it was marked in handwriting on the survey itself. I thought that I think that this is sufficient.
There's a mark. It's like a little red mark where the sign is, but it doesn't.
We could perhaps ask him to submit a clearer copy of it that is, you know, maybe brighter ink or something, or easier to identify.
Yeah, I mean, if it was enlarged, it's not so much as hard to identify. It's just hard to tell how far it is from the property line. You know, you can't there. That's good. That shows you. See that little red notation at the bottom there, where it's just above the word drive and Soundview Drive.
It looks like it's about a foot, if that, from the property line. I mean,
yeah. So that's the thing we need to know, it seems to me. And it's, while it's indicated on the survey, there's no dimension, and we asked for dimensions to be depicted. So,
I'm sorry, Kathy.
It's also difficult to note dimensions because until we start with markouts and digging, we don't know what kind of services are there either. So anytime we do an installation, we can be a foot or two to the left, to the right, depending on what's in the ground as well.
I recognize that there are as-built circumstances with respect to that, but, you know, the way this looks, it could easily slip into the right-of-way of Soundview Drive, which we can't permit, right? So, well, when I look at the photo...
I would have to dig into the asphalt for that to happen. We're not putting it in the driveway.
I get it, but you know, we're all just trying to, I'm trying to give you documentation that'll survive this, you know, this particular process.
I mean, we're also just installing a sign. We're not building a house on the property line either. Typically, these are addressed as just an embellishment, not so much a building permit full, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's still a structure, so...
Could we do it the way they sometimes mark septic systems on surveys, where you do two strings from the corner of the building, and where those strings intersect, you know, so many feet out from the left, so many feet out from the right, like a triangle thing? That's where the sign's going?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Frank was saying too, is just how many feet.
Well, he wanted to come straight out, but straight out, you could be to the left or the right. But if you did a triangular thing,
I see what you're saying. So
septic systems are often marked that way. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. I mean, I think that would work for me, as long as there's a dimension. I just think there needs to be a dimension in there.
Because it would give you the exact space where it has to go, you know, given a foot or two, but yeah.
Right, yeah, it would give you a window, but primarily the distance off the road and from the building, and then if it has to go right or left, or whatever, east or west, or whatever that dimension is.
So you want to require that?
I mean, if I may as well, you know, such requirements like this should be outlined on the actual permit application and in the actual bylaws, but none of this is brought up. It just seems like it's on the cuff kind of discussion. So I don't know which, you know, the appropriate way to handle it is, but from my experience, if we're complying to the application requirements, and there's just been an addition of all kinds of different hoops and hurdles to go through recently. So I don't know where they're coming from, but I haven't seen those outlined in the years and years I've been doing it. So.
Well, I'll read this. Sorry to interrupt if I'm interrupting anyone. Point number 3 on the application front page, 4 copies of a current scaled survey prepared by a licensed surveyor, so it should be scaled, accurately showing the location of proposed signs. So accurately implies dimensionally.
The current survey.
Yeah. I mean, with all due respect, Will, I don't know that you were the original, are you the original applicant's representative? And I know we have a new system here and so forth, but I don't think our new system has anything to do with your particular application. I guess Frank is saying the application requests a recent survey. This survey is at least 20 years old. And we did specifically, when we first saw this application, send a follow-up letter that included a bullet point that requested that the sign be dimensionally depicted on the survey. I don't think there was any question about what we were hoping to see. So your submission is, it has lots more information than the first one did, which is great, but it doesn't check that box for us in that we don't have the dimensional, depiction of the sign on the survey. So I think you're going to need to go back and, I think we'd be willing to accept what Chip suggested, which is, to run 2 lines so that you would have some movement. If it, once you're putting the posts in, you need to avoid utilities and so forth. But we need to have a depiction on the survey of where this is going to go, what the distance is from the building, which is basically what Frank said to begin with. So these are not new hoops, and I'm sorry if it feels like that to you, but this is the old way. We're just enforcing the rules. Maybe that's different. I don't know, but you'll need to come back to us, I think, with this depicted on the survey in some way, shape, or form. Why don't you, I don't know, Will or Eric, would you be willing to field a phone call from Will from Ocean Graphics about how best to accomplish this?
So I think that the building department in similar situations as a just kind of rule of thumb, they use the utility poles as a indication of where the right of way is in the property line. So I think it was behind the power cables, on the property line. That might be another way of doing it as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry we don't have more forward progress for you this evening, but without these dimensions, I think you're going to have to go back and figure that out.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around what the significance of the dimensions are. I mean, it's on the survey, it's visually shown
it's
where
not
it's
on the survey.
We're within.
I'm not, sir, I'm not here to argue with you about, I understand that you are frustrated in your attempt to get this done, but I think that we read the requirements of this are quite clear. Dimensional depiction of the sign on the survey. There are no dimensions on this survey. I'm speaking. There are no dimensions on this survey. Excuse me?
Nothing. I'm just trying to speak as well.
Okay, well, I'll acknowledge you when I'm ready to hear from you. I'm running this meeting. I'm trying to explain to you that the dimensional requirements as depicted on the survey are necessary for us to, I think in every other aspect, this is a go. I think everybody thinks the sign looks great. There's not a big problem with this. But we just need the dimensions depicted on the survey. I understand that you have some challenges to how that might work. I'm recommending you call the planning department and work with them on this. If this is a new avenue for you, I'm sorry, Godspeed, but this is what we have to do. It is something more you'd like to say.
I just wish that would have been outlined in the actual requirements, not something that just gets added on kind of as we go.
And again, I must contradict your sentence that was not in the actual requirements. It was number 3 bullet point on the application that a recent survey, which this is questionably a recent survey, given that it was surveyed in 2001, is submitted with dimensional depictions, plus you had a second, we sent you a follow-up letter saying the same thing. We needed dimensional depictions. I'm sorry you're frustrated. I need to move this meeting along. If there's something more we can do to help you along, please call us. We'd like it. I'd very much like this to be off our agenda. I'm sorry we can't get it done tonight. I would have liked to conclude this, but you're not meeting the requirements. So please come back to us with the survey with some dimensional depictions on this, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Next is McCray Sky, Sub-County Tax Map number 300-172-06-03 for a business sign, 136 Main Street, Amagansett. Chip, this is yours. Is Ocean Graphics, is this Will again? Is he representing this also? Or is it a
Yes.
different person from Ocean Graphics? Is that you, Will?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, Chip.
Okay, so the applicant, which is a new retail store called McCray Sky, has been before us over the last month for signage on a very small retail space in the stucco building as one enters Amagansett from the west. We rejected a proposal sign that was to be on the lintel above the window and suggested a sign on the plate glass window. Applicant is returning today with a different proposal, a circular sign mounted on a bracket that will hang perpendicular to the building. The sign would be a circle within a 26 by 26 inch square, double-sided with pinned letters. Sign could have colorful letters in one proposal or one colored letters in the other. There would be no lighting. So this is the building, and the sign is there on the right by the arrow. It would stick out. I'm looking at this carefully. There's a precedent for a perpendicular sign coming out from a building in Amagansett in the building next door, which we approved recently. And there's also a perpendicular sign. That's the building next door at 140 that we approved a couple months ago, E-E Home. And the stucco building itself has a very large perpendicular sign on the corner that's quite aged, and it talks about a business center, and then it talks about a lawyer or a public accountant or something, law office that appears to be upstairs, and we approve that. We've looked at options on the building, on the glass, perpendicular to the building. Will, do you want to talk a little bit about the signage you came up with?
Sure. This is a two-sided sign on a fixed bracket, so it's not hanging or anything. It won't be swinging around. It's a PVC face with dimensional letters that will be pin-mounted flush to the face. And that's about it. Just a simple black bracket. Only protrudes off the building, maybe 28 inches. And the applicant is pushing for the full color logo, as that is their brand.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is a one-colored logo, but the other one is the multicolored letters on the logo. And would this be the only sign that they'll be putting up on the space?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, I'd like to hear what the rest of the board says, but given what we've been through with this building and the fact that we had just approved a similar sign next door, I would be sympathetic to this sign.
We see the color one?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think it's nice.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. It
too.
Doesn't seem as loud as when it was proposed in the window or on the facade.
Well, much smaller, much smaller. Yeah.
Well, that makes the difference, yeah. And there aren't the dots and everything.
I think it's nice.
I mean, as you come down that slight slope by the mobile station entering Amagansett, you will clearly see this sign, which is what the applicant is hoping for to attract people to their business. So I have no issues with it if other board members don't.
How do board members feel about the black versus potentially asking for it in something like white? It's going to be black against the white stucco or off color.
You mean the frame?
Yeah.
The frame, sorry.
Design.
Could we look
That's my
at
only issue is that the frame is sort of, there's like an off-white stucco with a white sign, so the black is actually going to pop.
Yeah.
Could we look at the pictures you showed before of the of the facade, and then also the building next door, just to appreciate.
Well, the windows are all black, and this one is black also. Yeah.
And not just the hardware. I mean,
Yeah, I don't mind the black.
I think the black's good, actually.
I think it's elegant, and it'll make it pop a bit more, which
I see Frank's point about the black, but I think that there is already black against that white there in the windows. So I don't know that it'll make as much difference. I don't have any problem with this. Does anybody else have any other comments?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Chip, would you
I
like
make
to
a motion to approve. I make a motion to approve this application for a request for.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, so you're good to go there, Will. At least we got one for you this time. All right, have a good night. Okay, next up is Greer Kunon, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-91-1-19.3, 3 White Pine Road. Is Katie Osiki online on the phone? Oh, I think she was phoning in. Matt, could you check and see if
Yeah, we have her
there's
on the phone. I'll unmute her now.
Okay, please do. Okay, this one was mine. I have to say I was a little confused by it, but there's this application is to approve a proposed gate, but it's already built, and it's a 6-foot gate, 6-foot cedar gate. It is cedar. It's 25 feet from the pavement. It's probably a little more than that. I measured it yesterday. And 2 rows of 6-foot deer fencing. And I didn't really understand this. That is 20 feet. And I don't know what CNPT long means, but I'm assuming that it was proposed to go out on either side of the fence. That's the picture I took when I went to view the property the day before yesterday. I could not get the gate to close. I suspect it's more than 6 feet from grade because the gate itself is 6 feet and the grade goes down a little bit so that when the gates are closed, I'm sure there's a 4 or 5 inch gap there, roughly. Could be less or more, I don't know. But there is deer fencing that goes through the entire property. Now, that's not before us right now, but the survey that was submitted depicts proposed fencing and including the gate and the existing fencing, which the applicant is proposing to remove. So I think the gate is fine. It's taller than I would like it to be. I think it's higher than I would like it to be. But I think that at this point, it's set back up off the road enough that it's not the first thing you see when you drive down the street. That there aren't many homes in this area, and there are a few gates, if any. I had trouble envisioning the 6 feet, 20 feet of 6-foot fencing on either side of it because it wasn't present. Because right now there's 8 feet of fencing on either side of the gate. So as a, general principle, I could approve that, but the pretty much the entire property is surrounded by 8-foot deer fencing, and I think there are some problems with that. The proposal on the survey, which I know is not before us now, but I just feel duty bound to bring it up to the applicant, indicates that the fencing on the, I guess would be the northwest property line that's closest to Northwest Road seems to run on the property line. And my sense is that it's going to need to meet setbacks in that area to be, presently there's existing fence on the neighboring lot. We don't have to get off on a big sidebar about this because I recognize this application is not for that, but I feel duty bound to mention to the applicant that will need to be addressed. I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Katie, are you there?
I am here. And so just to address the deer fence, the deer fence that is shown on the survey in red will all be removed. And I went over it with the building department that if less than 50% of the property is, if you're proposing deer fence, that's to their standard, with it coming off 20 feet from actually two sides, then 50 feet from the pavement, as long as it's less than that 50%, that you can just do that with a building permit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I did go over it with them, and they were okay with that. That's why it's not in front of you guys.
Who did you talk to, Katie?
I had talked to Joe at the time.
Okay.
I believe I included the code section that he had actually given me.
Yeah, I just maybe I'm reading the survey the wrong way, but it looks like the proposed deer fencing is on every side of the property, right?
Well, it's 50 feet off the front. It's the blue one, and then it runs on the side that's closer to Northwest Road. That's the only property line that it's on, and then it comes back in, and it's 20 feet off the rear, and it's almost 50 feet off of the other property line. And it is definitely less than 50% because the surveyor calculated it.
Right, but didn't we get something from Anne about this? I mean,
yeah, I guess what they're saying is the area out, even though it goes around it's not on the property line. There's a space between the property line and the fence that's closer to the road, but Anne said that I sent Anne Glennon an email today, and she looked at this, and she says that I'll send it to you because I think that she does not want the property fully enclosed, and so they've got to have a way to. She says, "I would not issue a building permit if the property is enclosed by fencing," and then wants to add additional deer fencing meeting the guidelines instead of the original fencing perimeter. So that's not really the clearest thing in the world, but
yeah. Well,
okay,
I mean,
I'm happy to go back to her and discuss it with her.
Because I was confused by it, and honestly, I asked her to help me with it, and
that's my suggestion. I think we should just discuss the gate and the 6-foot fence, but as long as you're aware of this, Katie, that's my main, we're not going to solve that here, but we did spend a little time thinking about it because it wasn't clear,
Yeah, which is totally fine. And the just to be a little more clear about the 6-foot fence, that it would go directly behind the fence and it would basically just connect into the 8-foot fence. So I don't know
behind
the existing
1 or 2 feet
fencing
Behind the gate, you mean?
Yeah, so the surveys that I had submitted, the hard copies I had highlighted. I don't know if you guys have that, but it shows the gate highlighted along with it's 10 linear feet on either side, totaling 20 linear feet, and that's why I had put 20 linear feet in the application.
What I'm seeing on the survey is I'm seeing a proposed 6-foot gate and a proposed 6-foot fence that runs the distance from the gate to the proposed 8-foot fence running around the entire property. My concern would be is that I don't know, Kathy, but is that if we approved this, that the building department would say, okay, the architectural review board has given the blessing for an 8-foot fence around the property.
No,
so it's an exception to. It doesn't require our approval if done in the way that the code sets out the exception for deer fencing.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's up to the building inspector.
It was also not part of the application. I didn't write deer fencing at all on the application, so I'm not expecting you guys to give me any permission for deer fencing.
Yeah, so
right.
That's understood. I think that the board just wants to be cautious and specific in its approval, but this is not about the deer fencing.
Well, it says 2 rows of 6-foot deer fencing, Katie, not to contradict you, but I'm reading your handwriting
Sorry.
here. And now I understand the linear feet reference. I couldn't read the writing. Long. And deer fence 8 feet will be to building department code. We will something as shown on survey. So, okay, I just want to make sure that, I think, we should maybe in our, in our resolution, we'll just make sure to indicate that we weren't entertaining this, the 8-foot, that we had some concerns about that. But that leave that up to the building department. And, hopefully that'll work out. I mean, I don't know, David, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
If, they go there and they see that, there's something on the property that requires ARB approval, it's not included in the
Come back to us.
resolution, they'll come back to us.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Could I just one observation though? You said that
Yes,
you feel that
please.
you think that the gate itself is actually exceeding 6 feet.
Yeah, I think it does.
Is there something we can do about that?
Well, no.
By how much?
That would be
couldn't
my
measure it
question.
because it wasn't closed when I was there, and I didn't get back over there as I had hoped to today. Katie submitted some dimensions here, but yeah, it doesn't say when it's from grade. The gate itself is 6 feet. Yeah, it must be close to 4 or 5 inches, maybe even 6 inches, because I know that the posts are 75 inches. I measured those. And if I don't know, can you show the picture of the gate, please, Julie? That Katie submitted. It's not the one that I took. She had, or I don't know who has control of that, but it's part of the application. There were lots of pictures there, and there was one that showed the dimensions of the gate. Yeah, just keep scrolling. It's probably in that packet. Oh, maybe not. Here we go. We're getting closer. I think it's another page.
Well, there it is.
There we go. And then go down one more, because there we go. And she's got the dimensions in there. But if you can see this, the posts are 6 feet in height, which they are, but from the grade, it's more like 75 inches. So that's 3 inches. I wasn't real upset about that. But then if 75 inches is on that, on the post, and you see that they're with the gate closed, there's that Belgian block and the grade goes down there. So it could be 5 or 6 inches.
Right.
So
but
really
the natural
gate
grade
itself is 6 feet, but the measurement from grade, I would suspect, is more like 6.5. Does that say 8 inches there?
Underneath the gate?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be.
Well, that's
80
the,
inches,
From the center.
right?
hang on.
But from
So
natural grade, it is 6.
So
Okay, so it's more like 6.5 feet. Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is a 6 foot high post on the left, but the bottom of the gate is not in line with the bottom of the post. So
Right.
which portion is 6 feet, Kathy? Is it the fence itself, or is it the post?
And that's a good question. Yeah. Well, the gate, yeah, they're 6 feet. They're both 6 feet. But when I measured the gate, it wasn't in this alignment. It was open. So I just measured the gate from the top rung to the bottom, and that was 72 inches. And then the post is 75 inches to grade. So
Okay.
the post is 6 feet, but it's up above the grade by 3 inches. So I just couldn't really determine how far above the grade the gate itself was, because it was opened, it was out of position.
It's a couple more inches though.
Say again?
I mean, together between the 3 inches of the post and the step down from the Belgian block. I mean, so the gate actually is about 6.5 feet.
Yeah, that's my guess. That's my guess too. So, I mean, I suppose we could ask them to lower the gate.
They need to lower the post too.
Well, I don't know. They got a little room on the post, don't they, to lower that down? Maybe not on the right side. I don't know what that other post is doing there. There's some kind of a cement marker in front of the right one. I can't tell from this picture how much space there would be between the right post and the bottom of the gate. The bottom of the post and the bottom of the gate, if it could be lowered.
It's more than on the left. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's sort of pushing the envelope. Yeah.
It seems to me, based on the dimensions that Kathy measured, which is the fence height is 6 feet, and it's indicating on this drawing 8 inches below the gate. It seems to me the height of the gate is 6'8" above the driveway.
Yeah.
So how do we handle this?
But Kathy, you said it's sort of innocuous. It's set off the street, and I mean it is half transparent.
It is set off the street. I mean, the truth is, it's probably 28 feet up from the edge of pavement, by my measurements. But again, I didn't see it closed. It was open when I saw it. I don't, I find the design of the gate is fine. I think it's a little too tall. I don't know if there's any way to lower it, by half a foot.
Cut the top off. Yeah.
Cut the top off. Yeah.
We've been down this road before many times.
Yeah.
I would encourage that.
Okay. How do other members feel?
Well, it's not, if it was like 2 or 3 inches, I'd be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's not, it's 6 feet, 8 inches based on what Frank says. And I think he's right.
Yeah.
And if you start letting this slip, then we're going to be 6 feet, 9 inches, 6 feet, 10 inches.
Right.
We've been tough for the 2 years I've been, or 3 years I've been involved. So I would tend to be tough.
Okay. All right, Diane, are you cool with that?
Yeah, I think, I think if they eliminated the top bar.
Yeah, that might be doable. And Frank, are you in agreement?
I am.
Okay. All right, Katie, I think you've got your feedback here. If you can just take that top rung off there, that top slat, whatever we call it.
Of the pillars as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Of the pillars. Yeah.
No? Or are we leaving those at 6? Plus.
It's 75 inches. It's 6 feet, 3 inches.
I could leave the pillars.
I could leave the pillars. I don't mind the pillars as much, but if,
I think architecturally I think what they should do is that what I would do is I would lower it to be 6 feet above the driveway and cut a top or bottom rung. And then, if they want to lower the thing completely, which would make it like 5 feet 11, actually, that's what it's going to end up being. So it's 5-inch board plus 4-inch gap. So that's the easiest solution. Just cut the top rung.
Okay. Okay, Katie.
Would you guys approve it based on that, or do you need updated drawings?
We'll need updated drawings, I think. I don't think we can do, I think we have to get have to resubmit that. I mean, I don't know. Is that David, is that the way we usually do this?
Wouldn't a photograph work?
I think, there's a way to do it if you're clear about, are they going to modify the pillars, or we're just taking off the horizontal pieces?
They're going to do both things.
And what are they doing?
Said the pillars were okay.
I thought Frank
suggested
the pillars
were okay.
Well, I was only, sorry, I should be clear that I was suggesting if they want to keep the post that high, I'm telling you it's going to look better if they just cut it across. And we are reviewing the architecture of the fence, so I would suggest cut it across. It's a nice looking gate. I mean, I give them credit for this.
So just to remove the top horizontal piece, right?
Right.
Yeah.
As depicted in the plan submitted.
But the suggestion is to make the post and the pillar the same height, correct?
I think that will look better.
As it is now. I think it's all a design
Yes,
statement.
okay.
They'll know this more than we'll know this.
Good
I mean,
point.
They
Just
wanted
to
it this way.
reduce it in size by that top slat and make it, make the posts and the gate the same size, right?
Okay.
We have a height
essentially-
limit.
So it would be if the cedar slats are 5 inches and there's 4 inches between, technically we're reducing it straight across by 9 inches, correct?
Yeah, I guess that's, yes.
Right.
I mean, you can raise the thing by, you can cut that top one and you can raise it by 1 inch. If you want to, I don't think you'd want to go through that. The easiest path is just to cut the top rung off there and make the next rung the top of your fence and just carry that across.
Okay.
It'll look nice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
nice
There'd be a
looking,
total of 7 rungs, right? I think I'm counting 8.
excuse me?
There's 8 rungs.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So we'd have 7.
Right.
That's how we could
So-
prove it.
So as this exists, we'll go photograph this and remeasure it, and then we'll know it's in compliance.
Right. I mean, is that our usual protocol? I don't
Yes,
have any
yeah.
reason to hold this up if we can agree on the design.
Oh, no, they need to do that, Kathy, but we don't need
Okay.
new drawings because
Okay.
it's already built, yeah.
Okay, fine, great. Okay, so
When they-
Katie, is that?
so what- Yeah, I mean, but you guys would write the resolution, so then at the end, when they're done with the construction that's going on the site, I'd obviously hand in a ARB inspection form.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but we'll send you a follow-up letter to give you these details so that it's, clear. If it's not now, so you have it for your record. It's clear enough, right? We all agree on the dimensions here.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. Thanks, Katie.
Aren't you going
Thank you.
to
Have a good
approve it?
So are we actually voting on this?
Yeah, that's what I thought you guys were
I
doing.
thought we weren't. I thought we
No.
needed drawings. Okay. Well, forgive
I
me.
was confused.
All right. So I'll make a motion.
If you can approve it, that would be ideal. That way I don't, because we just agreed on everything, I thought.
But
Yeah, I'm
someone
just-
has to go back and measure it. Someone has to go back and make sure they've cut it down, and we've gotten in trouble when that doesn't happen. So I'm against that.
Well,
They need to
You
no.
can
do the
just
work
do it by
first.
we're going to say that they're going to take off the horizontal piece, so there'd be a total of 7 instead of 8, because this is built.
Right.
We would need to know the exact height, right? After
You could
that,
say,
from grade.
It's going to be less than 6 feet.
yeah,
So
not to exceed
top-
6 feet.
Top of fence, top of gate, not to exceed
6 feet.
6 feet across, above driveway and grade.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable to
Yeah, me too.
vote on.
Again,
Yes.
Okay. Well, so the proposal would be that the gate and the pillar
Not to exceed 6 feet.
Above grade.
above grade.
grade
Would,
sorry, Kathy.
Just say above 6 feet, please.
What?
Keep it simple.
I think
I
not
can
to
hear you.
exceed 6 feet is the,
Yeah, not to exceed 6
The
feet.
way we do it, yeah.
well, that's what I just said.
yeah.
Yeah, but then Julie added above grade, so that's
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So not to exceed 6 feet. Yeah, because it's measured from grade. So that's the 6 year. I get it.
Do we,
Okay. So
do
not
we
to-
actually need to
All
state
right, I'm trying to
that?
make a
Because-
motion.
no.
So,
As long as as long as the applicant is aware that grade includes the driveway.
yeah, she
Right,
understands that.
Okay.
Right, Katie?
Yeah,
She gone.
and I mean, basically we're taking 9 inches or the 5
Right.
and the
You're
4.
going to take 9 inches off. So it measures 6 feet from the driveway
Eighth
grade
rung,
up
or
to
however
the
you
top,
want it.
less than 6 feet up to the top of the gate. And
And pillar.
same for the pillar. All right. So I'm going to make a motion that this gate and pillar not to exceed 6 feet for 3 White Pine Road be approved. May I have a second?
With the
As
understanding.
depicted in the East End land planning.
Oh, as depicted. Okay, thank you. As depicted in East End Land Planning.
Are these renderings or photos?
It's
Photos,
renderings and photos.
Yeah, the
Yeah, there's
photos
no
of the East End
renderings,
land
it's just
planning
photos. There are
submission.
no renderings, it's just photos. Okay, as depicted in the photos of the application. So that was a little chaotic, but
Second.
everybody understand. Second from Mooney. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chip, you're cool?
No, does this thing exist already, or are we looking at?
Yes,
renderings?
it's as built. It's been built. Yeah.
So
we're
who's
gonna
going to go back out and remeasure it?
Well,
Building defender.
well, we have to
Building
go back.
department?
out
Oh, the
to
CO.
They'll come back for a CO when they're done with all the construction.
Yes.
Okay, fine. As long as someone goes back and checks. That's
Okay,
fine.
great.
Yeah.
I'm relieved at that too. Okay. All right, so that motion is passed. Katie, you get on that for us, okay?
Sounds good. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye now. Okay, next up is Alan Olaru, excuse me. I don't know if Olaru. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-122-3-8.3, 36 Crystal Drive for fence. This is
Yep. Okay. So this application is for. Are we good?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So this application is for extensive stockade fencing, about 300 feet. Came in as a proposal, but when I actually went to the site, I found that 90% of the work has already been completed.
Oh, goodness.
The property is about a third of an acre in a modest neighborhood between 3 Mile Harbor Road, Springs Fireplace Road, and Abraham's Path. They've already completed extensive landscaping in the back, which isn't our concern, and that's a patio, a pool, retaining walls. So you're looking at the stockade fence, which is all behind the front facade of the house. The side we're looking at is at 6 feet, and that runs to the right of the house from the front all the way to the back. And then let's look at some other photographs. This is in the back. So rather than step it down when the land steps down, they had the fence at a straight height all the way across, and they filled it in at the bottom for about 5 sections or about 40 feet with planking. So the fence stays even, but the ground below it is not even. It's a little bit problematic. It measures 88 inches, so that's 7 feet 4 inches. Then this is the other side of the house where the fence is at grade, but it steps down as the land just steps down quite a bit towards the front of the house. So all this stockade fencing is in place. In the back, it doesn't exceed 8 feet, but it comes close. And then in the front, the next picture, there's posts up. Now keep going. There's posts up that look like they're 44 inches, that this is going to be a shorter fence in the front, but there's no fence there, but it's still behind the front facade of the house. So maybe the applicant wants to talk a little bit about what they're, and that's the house itself, what they're doing.
Okay.
Sure. Yes. So the front is going to be a 4 feet tall fence behind the facade, as you mentioned. So the application was basically for the fence in the back where we have the grade going down. So it starts at 6 feet, but then as the backyard is sloping towards, let's say west, probably the west corner, southwest corner, it goes higher than 6 feet. That's the reason we applied.
Right.
The
But why
sides,
did you mark it as proposed when this is actually built?
I did apply for existing. I think it was marked. It was marked on the. It was a mistake on the form.
Okay, because you didn't. This is not proposed. This exists. Yeah. Okay.
The fee was for existing.
Okay, that's fine. So we have 6 foot fencing up to 84 inches in the back of the house. I'm kind of okay with it. I'll let the other board members speak on it.
What's on the other side of the fence where it's 7 feet?
It's all residential neighborhoods. On the left, there's a driveway. On the back, there's another house. On the right, there's another house.
I mean, my concern about something that exceeds 6 feet would be if it's facing someone else's lot, it's an imposition on them. if it's facing like an agricultural reserve, it's not so much of an imposition.
In the back, in that corner, they have a retaining wall, so they sort of straightened out their lot. So basically, our fence is aligned with their with their.
There's also deer fencing back there, isn't there? Deer fencing back there also, I think, on the neighbor's property.
Yes, yeah.
It's a pretty woodsy area. It's not. It's tucked away beyond belief. You have to sort of go left and right, and it doesn't connect to a main road directly. But it's a quiet residential neighborhood.
Can we go back to the fencing that's on that raised area there? And those general. So
the next one, that's the left side. That's all at 6 feet. That's at 6 feet.
And this step, yeah.
Keep going back.
But is that considered? I just had a question as a new to this.
There we go.
That retaining wall that was in there. Mm. Is that considered the natural grade?
Right. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's far away from the fence, but they've stepped the backyard down to get it flat to the back of the house. So they cut into an embankment to do that. This is where I'm more concerned about. So see, here's where they kept the fence at a consistent height, and you can see the house in the back, and but they just filled in with planks on the bottom. So that totals 7 feet.
If they, just to answer your question, Kathy, if they, excavate a little bit and put in a structure, and part of that structure comes above grade, the part that's above the grade gets measured and then added on to the height of the fence. So it'll be the part that sticks out.
So in this instance, where would we be measuring from? The bottom of the plank to the top of the, I mean, it just seems like I'm not suggesting this is a berm specifically, but isn't it kind of like a berm?
No, not here, Kathy. This is the picture that's up now. This is all natural grade. It's where those masonry retaining wall
that I know this is the area I'm concerned about, but I just had a question about that retaining wall, that looked like, I don't know. I should thank myself.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Can you go back in the pictures a little bit to the retaining wall there, like that? So the natural grade is what's on top of the retaining wall or beneath the retaining wall?
On top.
And Kathy, I thought about that. So I walked around the fence, and there's a neighbor's driveway, and that driveway is at grade level to the bottom of the fence. So that was the grade of the land.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That answers my question. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to explain that to me, because I'm still new to some of this myself. All right. So we can move on. And then, Chip, would you just explain again what your concern was about that one picture where there would seem to be a little gap between the tall fence and the low fence?
Well, it's just that, it's...
Can we move ahead in the photos, please?
Yeah, it's not a 6-foot fence. It's a 7-foot, 4-foot fence there, 84 inches. Next one.
One more, please. Keep going.
Next one.
Oh, no, maybe I guess we passed it. Must be back.
One more.
There we go.
Okay, so what is,
So you can see the fence, his fencing is on the right side. It comes back along the side of the house. And then there's a little short section that's a little higher. And then it jumps up to this straight line that goes across the back of the property.
So it sort of steps up a little bit.
Steps up a lot, yeah.
Okay, I thought that was a gate, frankly. I didn't think it was a fence. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, it's a little ragged looking.
I mean, if I were to suggest a change, it would be to lower the right panel, which is in the middle of this photograph. So those three panels step up, so they follow. It's kind of an abrupt. It's like an abrupt elevation change. Yeah. It should be something like this when you're laying out. It's much better to lay them out where the fences sort of gradually step up.
Well, it's 5 sections, Frank.
The full panel?
Five sections of fencing, yeah. Because, all 5 sections could be lowered, and they would slowly step up as it gets closer, but it's 40 feet worth of elevated fencing.
I mean, the weird thing just looking at the photograph is that if the photograph on the right, which is perpendicular, is presumably 6 feet above grade, it like
is.
when you see fences, grade doesn't naturally just jump 2 feet, right? At some point, there's, I don't know. I just would want to know like what's on the other side of that fence. You know, is actually the bottom of the fence holding back a little bit of soil? I doubt it, but
no, it's open. I could see daylight coming through. It's all open. So the land actually sloped down, but he didn't want the fence to slope down. So he elevated the fence so it's one straight line across the back where, the ground slowly slopes to the right. That's what's going on there. Right. I don't think there's been any grade changes here.
Yeah, it just looks like it's hanging in the air.
What?
Who's speaking?
Hi. This is Ramona. I'm Aline's wife. May I speak a little bit about the situation over there?
Sure.
About the fence.
Yeah, just when we're done with this discussion, Frank, are you finished with your suggestion? And Chip?
I am.
Yep.
I want to interrupt the train of thought here. If we're on to something, we're good.
All right. So
yes.
What's not shown in this picture is that the backyard behind us is all leveled. So basically, when they look from their backyard to our fence, they see a level fence, both of the top and the bottom. So that was one of the reasons why after discussing with the neighbor, we decided to keep the top at the same elevation instead of stepping it down. We also, what you see here—
They have a retaining wall, yeah.
Yes, they do have a retaining wall. So basically what you see in our yards, sloping from, I'm gonna say from the left to right, in their backyard, it's a straight line. And what also it's obviously not shown in this picture is that we plan to do landscape in the back, bushes, maybe trees, which we haven't decided on yet. So this look with the planks at the bottom is not going to be visible anymore. When we applied for the deviation or for a waiver from the 6 foot, we had our neighbors in mind, and we discussed with them that we are going to put a fence. And actually, I must say, they were very happy to have finally a privacy fence between us and them. So that's why we proceeded with this layout. I wasn't sure, big picture, like if you had the full view of the fence, I wasn't sure how aesthetically it would look to have the fence straight and then stepping down the last couple of panels. So that was also another reason for which we opted for this leveled top of fence.
So it's a privacy issue for you and your neighbors, is what you're saying?
Yes. Before we build the fence, the neighbors in the back have been living there for, I think, 15 years, and they never put a fence up. I'm not sure what the relationship with the previous owner of the house was, but we did all this work in agreement with them. We worked together. We looked at the old surveys. We presented them our plan. So at the end of the day, trust us, we didn't want to spend the money to buy the fence and then the planks and also to dig deeper for the 8-foot fence. But at the end of the day, that was kind of the resolution we reached together from an aesthetic point of view. As you could see from the previous picture, because of the nature of the grade there, you still have a tall fence, a high top on the left-hand side. So we thought that this would look better to have a level level top of the fence, and then the bottom would be hidden by planting.
Yeah, I mean, it's done a very nice job on the renovation landscaping of the property. It's very tasteful. So
thank you.
Well, I mean, maybe ask the other board members for their view. I mean, Diane and Esperanza.
I think it all makes sense.
I would just ask why it steps down so drastically precisely in this corner and doesn't seem to match the fencing on the right. I'm sorry to focus on this particular, but that's what we have in front of us. And so I understand your whole description right now, but why wouldn't you just go to the corner?
So you just put me now in a, I owe my husband a dinner, I think, because that was my idea. I wanted to see how we would look if we would make a transition from the low fence running parallel with the property to. I was trying to see how it would look if we were to step it, and that was a trial panel, and because of I'm gonna say economical reasons, like okay, I made you cut one. I'm not gonna make you cut another one because we didn't know at that point how many panels we'll have left, and you don't want to know how long it took to get to get the panels. So basically, that's the trial and the evidence of trial and error right there.
Thank you.
There's a hill on the left, and the hill comes down.
I understand that. I just, didn't understand why not take that to that corner, and that was a perfect explanation.
Yeah. Okay. Should we vote on it, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of empathy, but for the applicant and the economic challenges here, but I think Frank's suggestion is a good one. I mean, if we're supposed to be looking at design and reviewing things, I think the stepping down, step down a couple of those panels makes sense, just in terms of the look of it, because it does have a step, but it's a stagger step now instead of a gently sloping step.
Well, there's 5 panels that have this wood underneath them. It's only 1 board at the beginning, and then it's three boards here. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I understand. Okay. Well, does anybody else have that feeling, or is it just me?
It's very wall-like, so that's the only thing that I.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love the stockade either. I wish it was a little more transparent, but I was struck a little bit by the applicant's, explanation that, the neighbors were happy to have the privacy. I just, people have fences, I get it, but I don't think that it's our community's character to fence everything off, just to, that's not the goal here, is to fence everything off, to wall everything off. So I'm willing to go with whatever the majority is here on the board with respect to this, but I wish it was a little more transparent. And if it's a wooded area, it'd be nice to see those woods in there.
Well,
it's a third of an acre, though.
Can I add something?
Pretty small lot.
Very small.
Can I add something? One is it probably, first of all, it looks severe because you're in the middle of basically a construction site.
Yeah.
So once you start replanning things, it's not going to look, fill it in, it's not going to look severe. Yeah. And I actually can empathize living in Springs myself, that if you're, it's not like you're living on 2 acres, you're living right up against other neighbors. And I can understand the need for privacy with a stockade fence. There's, as much as we want to keep open space, I do think once you have I'd call this like more semi-density, there is a logic to having fencing for privacy. You're just up against someone else's house. As a I don't think that we're talking about removing any significant changes to the property. At least I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking just slide the panels. I'm not talking about moving any of the posts or anything. I'm just suggesting it might look a little less severe to take the last perhaps 3 panels and just slide them down, like just take them off of the post and then, just unscrew it or just take a crowbar and just slide it off and then just lower it by a foot, those last 3 or 4 panels, to make it more in line with the existing grade. I understand the owner's desire to want to have it seem nice and level across the top, but if they're going to plant most of that out, you shouldn't be able to see it.
Well, there is.
May I ask a favor at this point? May we present you a full picture of the fence with a sort of rendering how this would look with the last 3 panels stepping down? Because we looked extensively at this. I'm sorry, you are focusing now on this particular picture, but if you see the entire fence, I think you'd realize that while I understand your concern about having a tall fence in an area like this and so on, I don't think it benefits from an aesthetic point of view to have the fence stepping down.
I would agree with that.
We looked at this a lot.
But you did step it down on the other side, though, along the driveway to your neighbor. You stepped that fence down.
The step over there was more dramatic, and we didn't want to have a tall fence against a road. Granted, a road leading to a flag lot, but we didn't want to have such a drastic height over there to reach 10 foot or something like that. But on this back fence, you come out of the house, you are on a deck, and the same is valid for the neighbors in the back, right? You come from the back and you see level, you see just the tip, the second floor of the next door house, and the same is valid for us, for them looking at our house. If we were to go back and step it down, that step, the one that you are talking about, would not be related to any of the geometry of the house. We have a retaining wall that stops at some point, so I wanted to align with the retaining wall, but that was also not aesthetically enough. There are so many steps on our property because the way the backyard is. We had to keep this variation in the grade. We had to put in the retaining wall. That steps as well to have the fence stepping,
I think that's sufficient. Thank you. Chip, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, so I would do we need to vote on it or get a sense? I'm okay with this. Let's just poll the board.
Just make a proposal. I think at this point we're not making progress here with the discussion.
Okay, so I propose that we accept this application with the fence as built, with the understanding that it will be a 4-foot fence across the front of the house behind the front facade.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Is everyone all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to present our case. And again, thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you very much.
You were very persuasive. You were very persuasive.
I looked a lot at this. Trust me, this took a lot of planning. We tried to, do our best to make it look pretty, not just for us, for the community as well.
Well, we appreciate your diligence and to be good neighbors. Okay. Good luck to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Next up is Ratnamanga or Kevin Mulaney. Apparently, this is a property that's always been transferred. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-184-5.99, 15 Anvil Court. That has been postponed at the request of the applicant. The next one is, and we would ask that applicant, we'll send a follow-up letter to this degree, but this has been postponed several times and we don't want to make our board members go out and make evaluations if it's not the applicant's intention to proceed on the application at the meeting. And we'll indicate that in the follow-up letter. Okay, now we're into agricultural overlays, of which we have 5, but several of them are just reviews, and I think we're going to blast through them with all efficiency and good work. So Margaret H. Noble, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-200-3-45.1. Is Ms. Noble or her representative on the line? Who is this? Samir Camillo. Is or is it Camillo?
Hi, how are you? It's Carrillo.
Carrillo.
No.
Okay. I couldn't read it. It's CARR. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you are. Great. Okay. So Diane.
Yes.
Please.
This is a very exceptionally complete application.
Woohoo!
Well, thank you.
To replace 1 door and 33 windows of exactly the same size and design as exists on this historic house. To the left of this house is the famous Kilcare. And this house was built at the same time. It's been in this family. Fortunately, Mr. Noble was on his front porch when I went to see the property. And he told me that his children will be the 6th generation that lives in this house.
Isn't that nice?
So given the flair of the architectural integrity and all the different sort of fenestrations, the idea that they are maintaining the house and keeping it exactly historically accurate, I think is to be applauded. I've took pictures from all sides of the house. The ag overlay situation, of course, they're facing, it's totally overgrown. It's, the house and its surroundings feel so natural. It's way at the end of Georgia Association Road, almost to the water. And what can I say?
We see the other pictures?
Show the rest of the pictures of the house. I mean, you can see how many kinds of fenestrations there are in all the different sites of windows. So replacing 33 windows and 1 door, it takes quite a feat of planning and expense, and it's all about respecting the historical integrity of the house and the association. So I don't think we have any issue. I mean, they with the application, they provided a cut sheet and a picture of every one of the 33 windows, and all the manufacturer specifications. So it was they're trying to. I mean, their only goal is to do the right thing, as far as I can see, and replacing the shingles is also part of the application, which is happening. I mean, you can see the bottom has been replaced and the top hasn't yet. So it's in the process. So unless anybody has any questions or wants to see more.
I'd like to clarify something, please, Diane. You said in the beginning that this is a historical house. I just want to specify that I don't believe that it's landmarked located in the historic district. It certainly is old and has historic significance, but it doesn't have the protection of being in a district or as a landmark. So we're not applying those sections.
I think we can be specific that way, that it's not historically designated, but it is.
Yeah, not with the imprimatur of a historic landmark, but in its very essence, it is a historic house and a very historic part of our beautiful town.
May I just ask, so the windows and doors are being replaced in kind. You said that the cut sheets were submitted. So I presume that these are all like they're not, that in other words, they're wooden frames, the sashes, that kind of thing, or?
No, I have I think the manufacturer of the replacements is Marvin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did look on.
Maybe Mr. Carrillo, you can speak to that.
Hi, yes, they were going to be wooden from Marvin because they specify on that.
I don't see how they could be any other thing and be and be replaced in kind.
Well, I just wanted to be sure.
No, it's a good question because it theoretically could be replaced in like fiberglass or vinyl.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a home run. I think it's a home run for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's go.
We have one question about the Georgia Homeowners Association. We're under the impression that it has its own set of regulation and guidelines. I assume this meets with those because I think it's you've done a perfect replacement in kind. I can't imagine it would stray from those standards, but we would need that to be submitted to this application just to make sure that it's in compliance and we're not approving something that is not in compliance with your with the homeowners association requirements.
Okay.
But other than that, I think
I think the only thing that
applaud the application. I think it looks beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, it's really
It's
nice.
really great.
I guess my only comment would be I'm sort of surprised that we're actually reviewing it. If there's zero change to the architecture, I'm not sure why it just falls under regular maintenance, but.
Well, it's part of the agricultural overlay. So any changes to any structures, even if it's replacement in kind comes before us. So.
Except of course demolition for some reason.
Yeah, weird. That's so weird. Anyway, okay.
Hear me?
Well,
Thankfully, it's not being demolished.
Yes,
can
thank
you hear me?
God.
Hello?
Mr.
Yeah.
Carrillo, do you have a comment?
Yes. So what ended up happening is actually we didn't know that it was on the border with the agricultural board, which is why we went to East Hampton Town to file for a permit for the windows. And we were we weren't denied. We were told that we had to review with you guys first before going through with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So which is why we have not been able to finish off the permit because we needed the review from you guys and the approval so we could go ahead and file that.
And so I think we could I think generally speaking, I don't want to speak for every member, we'll go around, but I think the board is generally in favor of all of your improvements, but what we're lacking for our own documentation is the Georgia Homeowners Association, whatever rules or regulations that apply to that. We would need to have a copy of that submitted with this application for us to give it our stamp of approval. But I suspect we could approve it pending that submission, unless that's just another road we don't want to walk down. So what do you think?
I think we could ask them to submit it for the file as part of it, but we can certainly approve it because, as you said, this is replacement in kind and this is an old home. So at this point, the windows have been there for however many number of years.
Right. Yeah,
So,
it's unlikely at best that this was not in compliance with that agreement. So, but I just think I just want to make sure that the applicant is aware we need that. So,
okay.
Why don't we make a motion? That submission, and then we should go forward.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we accept this application as presented with the understanding that the Georgia Homeowners Association approval will be filed for our records.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you're good to go. Thank you, Mr. Carrillo, and thank your applicant. It looks beautiful. Good luck with things.
That was one of the most satisfying applications I've ever.
It really was.
Ever.
We're so easy to please. You just have to fill in all the boxes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, on to the next one. Kirkwood Reserve Llc. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-200-1-21.10, 186 Sayers Path, Wainscott. Frank, this is yours. Is Miss McCoy or a representative of hers on the line?
Yes, I'm Kitty McCoy.
Oh, there you are. Hi. Okay, sorry, I didn't see your name. Okay.
Here to represent this application.
Excellent. Welcome and thank you. All right, Frank, take it away.
Okay, can I request one drawing be put up on the screen to help explain what's happening here? It would be the site plan from the architect.
Are you asking me to?
No, I'm asking
we
internally to
Jeff has
our own
it.
team. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll explain. Sayers Path is on the right side of the screen there. So this application is the applicant is requesting the renovation of the existing house in the following manner. And on the application, it reads, proposed additions to existing 2,400 square foot residence, which is, we can call the main structure, which is at the bottom structure of the drawing. 3,377 square feet first floor addition, 1,900 square foot second floor addition, 409 square feet covered porch on the existing house, and 509 square feet of porch addition. So the applicant is requesting a demolition of a, first of all, a structure going off of the back of the house, which you can see in the red dashed line, which is not the red dashed setback, but you can see some red dashed boxes. Those are, that's the proposed, that's the setback. You can see there are 3 boxes, that's the proposed demolition. The scope of what is to remain is the existing house, which is the rectangle or square at the bottom of the plan here. The proposed, and if you zoom in actually to this, you can see this. Existing versus proposed. So to the right of the house, you'll see existing house to be remodeled, and above that, proposed house addition. By and large, the exterior of the existing house is to remain unchanged, particularly from the street, aside from the proposed back porch addition. If we can just walk through I think the renderings are a good one to go through next. Okay, there are the plans.
Maybe the next.
Everything, right. Let's go through pull up the renderings. And Kitty, correct me if I'm not getting anything right here about.
There we go.
So the volume at left is the existing main house structure. Everything to the right is new. So that's as seen from the street, main entry. Next page. That is seen from the north side. So Sayers Path would be to your left, and the open reserve would be on the right. Keep going. That is the back of the house. You'll see it right. That is the proposed porch on the main house. And then, so I go back to the previous one. And to the left of that is the new addition to the house. And we can go to the last one. There is, I guess we are proposing here a new Bilko door, and there's the new screen, there's the new covered porch on this existing, we're looking at the existing house structure. And Kitty, are those 4 doors, or are those doors and windows there at the bottom left of this elevation, are those new or existing?
Those are new.
New, okay, correct.
Yeah.
Let's look at the photos. So this is, let's go, okay, this is driving into the lot. There is no gate on the property. It's a very open property. Let's just go through these. That's is seen from the front of the house. Keep going. Right. There's that south elevation. Keep going. So the volume, actually go back one. The volume at left will be demolished. So the existing main house is to remain. All existing windows, doors, siding, and roofing on the main house are proposed to be replaced. I think in kind or per the elevations, except for the proposed changes.
Yes.
Is this an old house?
This house was constructed in 1995.
Okay. Okay.
Intended to look like it was an old house.
Yeah, it does.
It does so quite well.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have any existing plans or elevations, but it seems to me, because I would describe this as a sort of a clean break of what's being demolished, that I hope that other members understand what's being proposed here in terms of keeping the main structure intact and building on to that.
I'm just a little confused, Frank. So this, what we're looking at right now, the structure that's perpendicular to the main house here, is not attached?
It is attached currently. It's a one-story sort of kitchen family room, and that we are proposing to remove the one-story portion on the left side of the screen as you're viewing it now, and retain the main volume of the building, the gable end that's facing us on the screen, which faces south.
Can we look at the survey? It also shows it on the survey. Zoom in on that. I don't know why it's not coming up very clearly.
I only ask that because what is so lovely about this existing house is how it presents in such a, just charming way, as if, as Chip pointed out, and I thought as well, as an older structure. And, now it's going to be added on, I wish that it wasn't added on so much to the sides like that, because then it just presents like another big house.
There are two things that are going on here that I can share. One is this property has two substantial scenic easements. The first one, and the largest of the two, is the portion to the south. And you can see on the survey we're looking at on the screen that 21.4 foot dimension is the dimension from the corner of the existing house to that scenic easement, and 20 feet is the minimum setback to that easement. So our intention was to try and keep the existing house and to work with that and expand on that building. But we could not, by virtue of its location on the site, we cannot extend at all to the south. There's also a second scenic easement that goes, that's between the house and the street. So there's limited room for us to work in that direction. And there is a very substantial existing hedge at the property line at Sayers Path that continues the extent of the entire property. So unless you peek through the little opening in the hedge opposite the existing house or look up the driveway, there's very little you can see from the street. And given the expanse of their own backyard, which heads to the west, which is off of the screen, the clients really wanted to take advantage of that positioning and to enjoy their own property.
I'm just looking at this site plan here.
Can we bring up the site plan of the architectural site plan? I think it explains the house pretty well. Let's go back to that.
The question about the building envelope, it looks like the Bilco door and some portion of this I think it's the proposed building, if I'm reading this correctly. It stepped outside of the building envelope, according to this plan.
Is Julie there, or who's handling this? Will?
Who's putting these photos up for us? It's the first page of
It's
the.
me, yeah.
Can you get the site plan up for us, please?
Site plan, not the survey.
Mhm.
There you go.
Here you go. See that red line? Is that red dotted line the principal building envelope?
Yes, it's the principal building envelope and the setback from the easement.
Right. But so I'm looking there. See the Bilco door seems to protrude past the building envelope, and
It's my understanding, and I may be incorrect, but I will confirm that the Bilco door is not is exempt from that setback.
Okay.
But of course, we're not looking for any special permission for that. We want to be compliant.
I appreciate that. I'm just trying to, further my understanding of this while I have you available. And whatever that landing is that a step down or something?
That's a landing out of those doors. And
Okay.
of course, that would be compliant as well.
Yeah, okay. And then everything else looks to be okay.
So there's no garage?
There is no garage proposed at this time, no.
It's being removed?
Yes, the existing garage is being removed.
And how big is this lot again?
This lot is just 3 acres.
3 acres.
It's 3 acres?
Mm-hmm.
Which includes the scenic easements?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not buildable, so, okay.
Please zoom out so we can see the.
Were there covenants and restrictions
Yeah, and
with the subdivision?
Yeah, this is the Conklin farm, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is, Will researched it. He didn't seem to find anything.
Mm-mm.
And what about is there to be a new pool?
There is no pool proposed at this time. It is likely at some point in the future we will come back for a pool. Yes.
Yeah, I would think.
Well,
Oh, that's weird.
you're doing a lot line modification on this?
There was my understanding is that prior to the current owner purchasing this property, that there was a lot line modification made with the property that would sit where it says setback key on the map you have before you. And basically, the planning board approved that, and that was approved, I think, 10 plus years ago. I think there were 3 easement. They eliminated an easement and I believe consolidated them with the 2 properties.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was done in 2004, just for the record.
Thank you. And never mind.
So what is the total then square footage to be added on to? I'm sorry, because you read it listed and so what is the total square footage then that would be with the existing and then the proposed?
That was
3,300.
The application listed as 3,377 square foot first floor addition, 1,594 square foot second floor addition, and then a 409 square foot covered porch and 509 square foot porch addition. Does that help?
Thank you.
Yep. So the footprint of the...
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
3,377.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Sorry about that. The footprint would be 3,377 square feet. That's the first floor. And then about 1,600 square feet on the second floor.
Those are the additions.
Those are the additions.
Correct.
Plus the 2,400 of the existing.
So the existing residence, are we calling the existing residence 2,400 square feet what remains of
That
the
is
existing?
correct. It's
Okay.
the existing building that remains is 1,200. It's basically 30 by 40. And it's a 2-story building. So it's 1,200 per floor.
What is the existing, like, do we know on the CO what the existing square footage of the house is? Because then it would be more than that, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
we have.
Yeah, I don't know, Will, I don't know if you want to read it. I have it in front of me right here, so it's easier, but.
I was going to pull it up, but if you've got it.
Okay, yeah. It's on the CO, which is from 2018. It's, well, just about 1,988 square foot first floor, 1,200 square foot second floor.
So 4,300 square feet, roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the roughly 2,000 square foot footprint. So
the existing house is
Yeah.
4,300. And so the proposed house would be 2,400 plus 3,377 plus 1,594.
Sorry, the existing house is 1,988 plus the 1,200, which would be 3,188.
So just the totals, all we care about is the totals, really.
Yeah, because okay, I'm sorry. That's the existing house that would remain, not the existing, the existing house with the kitchen extension.
Is first and second floor together is 3,188.
It's good to know what
Proposed
we're.
new house? That's true.
I'm going to do that math.
I mean, it seems that they're adding.
So it's the proposed house as designed would be 7,371.
Right.
So they're more than doubling it. That's, I guess, where we're going.
But
Yeah.
it is a 3-acre property.
Yeah, got it.
Right. What's the maximum GFA on this lot? It's got to be higher, substantially, if you have that.
Even with the scenic easement, I mean.
I think the easement is taken into, I think it counts, against the coverage, but Eric, correct me if I'm wrong.
Does.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
you can give me.
you can build on it. You can use it.
Okay, there we are.
Yeah, you can use it to inform the size of the building.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere around 14,000 square feet. Just looking at that lot area figure.
So 14,000 square feet GFA,
Mm-hmm.
maximum allowable.
Big home. Huh.
They're doubling the size of the current house, but they could double the size of the new house and they would still be okay. So that's the way I look at it, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're not taking into account any future, addition of a garage or the pool or
any
who would come before us.
Oh, it's not before us.
Well,
so
we're
we
not
really
considering that.
I just said that.
But it's,
given what's going on Sayers Path, I mean, this is a very tasteful house. The additions are sort of low. They're preserving the main bulk of the existing house. I mean, it's a nice looking home, and it could be many, many times larger and many, many times not so architecturally pleasing.
Okay, Frank, did you have anything else you want to add on this? I mean, I think at this point, we're just giving the applicant some feedback on the, design and the size and, so forth, and where it fits on the property and so on.
Right.
Because the application is missing certain elements, so we can't approve it pull out, but
Right. And also we would need, I guess, Kitty, we're going to need some information like on the roofing material on the back, on the proposed porch and back of the main house structure.
Okay.
I don't know if this is called, we're going to need like a material palette or anything that's not matching the existing. I guess one comment I had in looking through, I mean, overall, I understand any, like some concerns people might have about, listen, it's a charming house as it is existing. And it is, listen, it's doubling the size of this house more so, and changing the nature of the house. But I do think it needs to be factored in that, you know, I'm not saying that we would approve a 14,000 square foot house, but this is significantly less than what is, at least on paper, permissible. One comment I might have is if we go to the renderings, looking through this, I'd just be curious let's go back to the first one. I'd be curious what other board members might say, which is the structure. There's the main house and then the connector piece, and then there's the new, which is new, and then there's the new addition where we're seeing it perpendicular volumetrically to the street. The double hung windows, the ones upstairs are the only ones I'm seeing that, like, they're a set of two, and all the other windows are single windows. It's an observation. I don't know what other ARB members might have to say about that, but
would you rather see single windows there, like matching the bottom, 3 and 3?
I'd be curious to see what it looks like.
It would look a little better, yeah. I see what you're saying.
More sort of historically accurate in a way.
It might make that mass look a little smaller. That's a very large block of facade there.
That was my comment. Is I think that's a very broad plane there, and then I think that's a good suggestion, Frank. I don't know whether there's a wall in between those, and they represent 2 bedrooms or 2 rooms or something. But
you nailed it.
Floor.
In fact, we looked at, there are 2 bedrooms that occupy equal size that are symmetrical about the ridge. The bedroom on the left, as you look at this drawing, we're trying to maximize light into that room. The one on the right, we have the opportunity for windows to the north. So
north exposure, is this the northern? This is the eastern exposure, right?
Exposure.
All right, so it shouldn't be too bad there with the natural light, and there's no trees in the way. I don't know. Is it possible to?
We can take a look.
Yeah, because I think that would help with the sense of the massing on the property. Because I think we understand fully that you are within your within the allowable limits, and we appreciate that you haven't come to us with a 15,000 square foot house, but in terms of the neighborhood character and the the expansion of this thing, we're trying to soften the impact a little bit. I think that would be helpful. And it would be more congruent with the other portion of the house that it's the front facing would be more compatible.
Ideally, here's what I would like to see. This elevation is pretty critical from the street. And ideally, I would kind of like to see that volume that we're talking about reduced in width a bit and height, and perhaps the overall massing could be pulled back. I realize that it just to I mean, ideally, and I'm just proposing this, and I'm not demanding it, but proposing, like in an ideal world, I feel like if that structure were more in scale with the connector piece and almost like the ridge line of that were just above it or lowered to where the existing main house is seen as more architecturally dominant.
Prominent, yep, exactly.
Prominent, I would be more comfortable with it.
I agree with
I mean, I think overall, I think it's, given what you've been handed here as a program to double the size of the house, I think you've done a very commendable job here compositionally. And so I think it's just that one volume. Ideally, I would like to see it just smaller. I realize interior-wise that might require some thinking, but there's space, I think, to pull things back into the yard a little bit to make that happen. I'd be curious to see what that, even like sketch that out, what that would be.
If I could add a few things here. That's something we've wrestled with and have tried very hard to look at this building three-dimensionally, not just straight on from the street, but from, because we really don't experience buildings two-dimensionally, and that we really see them three-dimensionally. But given the program that we're trying to meet on the second floor, reducing that volume will require other volumes to go from 1-story to 2-story, increasing their volumes. And I think we can look at trying to squeeze that a bit, but there's, it's sort of going to have, whatever we take out of that piece will move into another piece.
Yeah, I get it.
What I'm
balloon, but I think everybody's in agreement that at least in this rendering, and perhaps it's different, but the prominent architectural feature is the side of this building, and that it overwhelms the front of the house, which I think you've done hard work to merge the architectural characteristics into the rest of the building. Is there any way to just push it back, even if you didn't diminish it in size? Although I agree with Frank that diminishing it in size and height would be helpful, but can you put it more so it's behind the house itself?
Can we go to the site plan?
I think
the architectural site plan?
Receiving from this particular view, which is taken directly in front of that gable, and not it's taken from a vantage point that is dead on to that gable and not dead on to the front of the house or dead on to the whole expanse of the front elevation.
But can we go to the architectural, go to the first page of this?
Mm-hmm.
So I realize I'm suggesting kind of a reworking of the plan, but go all the way, no, maybe not the plan, the architectural site plan. No, not the survey. There we go. No. Okay, zoom in. So what I was suggesting is, again, I don't want to play architect here, but what I'm saying is, if we're suggesting that the profile from the street of that volume be lessened, then I don't see why we couldn't push, like make that structure actually longer. So you net, I realize it changes proportions of things and all, but so it seems that you have room to grow, to push that back to recapture any width that you're losing there and height. That volumetrically, like that back, look on the plans what that is, but the great room, pull the great room further towards, 8 feet back. There's no reason, you have plenty of space to expand that way. So if you pull that volume back, which means you could instead of making, I guess, that volume we're talking about so boxy and wide, maybe make it the profile of it less, but make it longer.
We can take a look at that. I think that when you look at that volume from the north side and you look at that to make that volume much longer than it is and connect to those one-story pieces, that's less than desirable as well. But we'll take a look and see what we can come up with to satisfy the board's request.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you.
So how does it work? Will this project be put on the next agenda automatically, or it will go on the agenda once additional information is submitted? What's the procedure?
It would be that once the additional information is submitted, we'd line it up for our agenda. What we're trying to do, but I can't guarantee it because agricultural overlay applications, as you can see, take time and consideration for the board. So we've been trying to limit their number. But when someone has come before us, we're trying to accelerate that process so that we're not starting, they don't have to wait ages and ages, because I know you've waited a long time just to get to this point. So we'll do our best to accommodate you as quickly as possible. Once you can submit the new information for us to consider.
So in addition to the request that we just discussed, I know there's outstanding information with regard to the exterior lighting. Is there anything else you're looking for at this time to deem this a complete application?
Do you have the covenants and restrictions, if any?
There are CNRs on the scenic easement, but not on the property.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me just get a quick look. So yeah, I think we need to tell Kitty what exactly needs to be added here in terms of information. So exterior lighting, we're going to need, I think we've already communicated this, but we need all lighting fixtures proposed. We're going to need to see those on the elevations. They have to be called out on the elevation, what type, and we'll need a fixture cut sheet. It would help to see, let me think, any materials you're introducing here, like a standing seam roof for the porch. We're going to want to see that. Building heights, can you indicate heights of roof lines would help to see, like particularly the main house, so we can see what the additions are relative to the structure remaining. Board members, what else am I forgetting here? The stone wall, is that existing or to remain?
Yes, it is. It's existing.
Okay, that doesn't change.
And we have all of the material specifications?
I just mentioned that.
I'm sorry, I was taking notes.
I think we're going to need...
I have written down make original house more prominent. I don't know if you want to put that in the incomplete letter.
Yeah, we will. We can review it later, but I think right now we're trying to give Kitty a list of what's missing.
Yeah. I think a cut sheet of the Bilco door.
Yeah.
With the color indicated.
And didn't we have some wish for existing and proposed elevations, or we don't want to require that yet?
I can supply the existing. We have those. I didn't know that you needed that or wanted those as part of the application. That's easy.
Sorry, but we have the existing, don't we? We just need the changes.
We don't have existing elevations and plans. So
right.
Kitty already has those. I think she just said, so she didn't think that was required. So just forward those to us.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
What is a noisemaker setback?
That's for what we refer to, and sometimes the building department, the accessory setback is doubled for swimming pool and pool terrace and things that make for noise reasons. And so we internally, that should probably be relabeled, but.
I love it. I think it's great.
I was thinking New Year's Eve with that one.
Barking dog.
Woohoo!
I mean, the real challenge with this project is to keep the existing house and add on to it, because the house is hard in the corner. And typically, if that house were in a different place on the property, we could put a wing to the left and a wing to the right. And so, we've really, we've had many conversations with the owner about starting fresh and demolishing the existing house. And we've worked really hard to work with the existing house and try and design something that's simpatico to it and to the neighborhood. And we hope with time will look like it's been there for a long time.
Well, we congratulate you on that, because I think you're really doing that. We just, we're trying to get to the best possible outcome here. And we are grateful to your, to the owners of the property for wanting to retain that important local character. I think Frank has some other.
I got one question, which is comparing, I guess, say on the site plan to show, and I know I want to move on, but the site plan, can we pull that up again? The architectural site plan. Okay, so we're looking at roof line here. So this proposed addition from the street, the one we've been talking about to the street, seems almost in line with the house. But when we go to the architectural plans, I just want to point this out to the board. When we go to the architectural plans, let's go to the plans, first floor. The first floor kind of is definitely, it looks to be almost further beyond the main house.
Yeah, it protrudes a little bit.
It does protrude a bit. And we were trying, our intention was we have a new entry that faces north, to have that entry door be in the center of that volume and to look into the center of the connector, which is the library, and to keep those, try and work, of course, we're always working three-dimensionally, plans, elevations, massing, and trying to make it look great on the outside and work really well in plan. So if we start to push that volume back, that shifts that center. We can't
access that
library space with it. It's a very intricate piece of work. So.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the owner has to accept that, having purchased the house and an agricultural overlay, that, there is a review process here in terms of what the board feels they're comfortable with in terms of, and sometimes adjustments have to be made. So.
It's not unusual, Frank, for a main block to have dependencies on either side, and the dependencies are a little bit further forward than the main block of the house itself. That's not an unusual architectural thing.
Right. I'm just pointing it out to the board.
Right. No,
where is the front door now?
It's on the right. Yeah.
It's to the north.
Yeah, I can see how Kitty struggled with this, because the existing house, which you think would be main public rooms, are relegated to bedrooms, which tells you that they really had a hard time reusing that space, because all the new public spaces are in the additions.
Exactly. And it has to do with where it sits relative to the easements and the setbacks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great attempt to keep something there and work with it rather than just demolishing the whole thing.
Right.
Right. Well, there may be something that can be done with that addition there that does stick out a little bit more. The portion that we all seem to feel is a little too prominently factored. I think unless you have any other questions, Kitty, I don't want to rush you, but we have 3 more. things to do. So if we've answered all your questions, and feel free to, give Frank a call as the committee on this, or the planning department if you need any further instruction. We'll be sending you a follow-up letter with, all of these recommendations, and we look forward to your next submission.
Thank you, and thank you all for all your time.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. It's come along. Okay. All right, next up, we have Osborne Family Limited Partnership, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-200-1-15.9, Winscott Main Street, Winscott, New York. This is William Babinski. Is the applicant present, or a representative?
Yes, right here.
Applicant. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Yes.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you? All right.
Thank you.
This is my application, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be talking about an agricultural overlay application that's actually going to farm agricultural land.
Thank you.
Who wins during this meeting?
I'm like, woohoo! Okay, so
Thank you.
the proposal is for agricultural deer fencing and closing an actively farmed parcel of agricultural reserve land with black wire agricultural deer fencing, 8 feet tall, and wooden posts with galvanized black wire gates. I went to the property. It's a huge piece of property. I'm sure everybody knows where it is. It needs fencing to keep the deer out if this is going to be farmed land. We have some, could you bring up the application, please, whoever's in charge of this? And I think the only thing we might have some, that's my picture that I could take from Osborne Farm Lane. It was hard for me to access it in other directions, but let's look at the photos of the gate, please. I think we have to go down. That's a survey, and it's within the application. I have pictures of the gate in my application, and the proposed fencing. Yeah, there it is. There, it's the gate. Yeah, there's the gate. So
that's along Beach Lane. Yeah, that's along Beach Lane.
Yeah.
Well, that
It's the same gate. Yeah.
Gate. Okay. So it's the same gate, and that will be. That's the proposed fencing. So I have no problem with this. This is the reason we have agriculturally reserved land, is so that farmers can grow food on it. And I applaud this endeavor. I wish all our ag overlay land was producing food. But I'd like to, if anybody has any comments, I'd like to hear them.
No comments.
Then I'd like to propose that we accept this application as submitted. And we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Billy, you're off and running. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the board for squeezing me in. I know that was a
no.
But thank you very much.
Oh, it was simple, and as I said, this was a pleasure. Good luck to you. I hope you have a good growing season.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
All right,
Bye.
take care. Right, bye now.
Bye.
All right, next up is Kenneth Grant. Who knew that an agricultural overlay application could take under a minute? That's just kind of record. Okay. Kenneth Grant, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-8.1, 15 Wainscott Hollow Road, Wainscott. Is Kenneth Grant or a representative with us? Kenneth Grant.
I think it might be Regina.
Regina McLennan is
if there's someone going to call in.
Is there anybody on the line here?
No, we have no callers on the line.
It shows her iPhone, but she's muted. I don't know if she walked away and never came back.
Okay. Yes, I see that.
Okay,
All right.
well, if she's not present, I'm not willing to go with this. I don't want to discuss this without all right, let's skip to Cantor then. If she's not present, we'll go back to her when she, I have Pasatino on here. Oh, Regina's iPhone. Right, here we go. Okay. All right, well, Regina, we'll have to get back to you then. Okay, Matthew Cantor, modification and certificate of occupancy, which we ordinarily would not take in this order, but we're doing it tonight. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-200-2-3.1, 12 Beach Lane, Sean, it's you.
Sean, you're muted.
Sean, you're muted. We can't hear you. You're muted. And Esperanza, this is yours.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I apologize. I'm on a different computer. For whatever reason, it's coming up as Stephanie, and I don't know how to change it.
That's okay. As long as it's you, we don't really care. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you were present for the discussion. Okay, Esperanza, off you go.
Okay, so as you said, this is before us. The applicant is seeking a certificate of occupancy. However, there were several changes that were made from the originally approved plans that were stated in the 2018 resolution. And Sean Leonard, the architect, was very diligent in presenting at our, I think it was in January meeting, a letter specifying all of those changes, or the majority of them. And so I really, first of all, I wanted to really express my appreciation to you, Sean, and Mrs. Cantor for the patience that you've had with this whole process, because I know it's not been quick. And also then just your willingness to hear my remarks regarding the property. I know that the entire board is familiar with the property. I know all of us, perhaps except Diane, have visited and walked the property with you. And overall, we've been favorable with what you have built. There were these inconsistencies. The structures that were built substantially conform to the resolution for the main house and the garage structures, as well as the subsequent 2020 resolution for the storage shed. And, we'll say all are generally in keeping with the character of the area. And for the most part, which was something that Mrs. Cantor pointed out to us, she wanted to maintain the open vista, which we really appreciate that, of course, in this ag overlay area. Changes like the choices of siding, clapboard versus shingle, those minimally affect the design and remain in keeping. Similarly, the relocation of elimination of chimneys, or the employment of metal roofing rather than cedar shingles. In some parts, these are not substantive changes, and they don't have major negative impact on the overall design, which I think we all see remains, for the most part, harmonious with the historical character of Wainscott. I've reviewed 3 different sets of plans and have visited several times. We've had the plans that were reviewed and approved by ARB in 2018 that date to February of that year. There are those that were submitted to the building department, which also date to February 2018. So I don't know when those changes were made, and the date's not changed for the revisions. And then the recently submitted as-built plans, which the architect made up, which reflect the design elements that were changed. What stands out most to me, and I am of the opinion that detracts from the harmony of the structures, are the addition of the pergola between the 2 garages at the front of the property facing Beach Lane, and the choice of the white clapboard siding with graphite garage windows. I will say the ARB approved plans from 2018, and I know that Mr. Leonard pointed this out in his letter, the approved plans were for cedar shingle. There was no paint color indicated on either the siding or the doors. And then in addition, instead of a pergola, what was approved then was there was a 3-foot hedge with a gate between the garages. So I'm still struggling with those elements. And I would open it up to the rest of the board to review, these modifications and make their decision.
Okay, thank you, Esperanza. Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just that, as Well, for starters, the pergola was on the building permit set. Yeah, I know it didn't get before the ARB, and I can't recall or understand how it all kind of got a little bit convoluted, but we did have it on that, so it wasn't built without a permit. So we did do that. And then, like we had mentioned, part of what we were trying to do with the pergola was the fact that since we don't have a gate and we don't want to, have that property separate from Beach Lane, and we want the people to actually be somewhat invited, the pergola also works as an element to kind of give a little bit of a buffer from Beach Lane to the house, as well as it gives the beauty of once, we don't see it yet, but Mrs. Cantor plans on having, flowering vines grow up there, and to make that even more, a really beautiful piece with plant life growing on it, which is our goal.
Okay, did anyone else have any comments they would like to add to this? I mean, there were substantial changes, which, Mr. Leonard was kind enough to detail in a memo that I'm sure we've all seen back in January. And as Esperanza has said, this has been a, slowly moving to boa constrictor here. So,
I mean, can I just say one more thing? I mean, with regard to what Mr. Leonard just said, I think my view is that the pergola's scale seems to me out of balance in that location, and it interrupts the open sight lines. And so while I understand the reason for it, it just, to me, just brings that with the white siding and the graphite doors, just brings undue attention to these garage structures and sort of creates this imbalance that's, to me, out of harmony with the more subdued character of the area. Materials have that power to establish place identity. And I know that you, Mrs. Cantor, you've explained how, you really were striving to reflect the place, to reflect Wainscott. So I don't want to dismiss that and make you think that I don't recognize that. But those choices in particular do not seem to me to be in keeping.
I think it's unfortunate that the original plans have gotten all things. I mean, it's hard to understand why the plans are different from the building department to the architecture review board to what was built. But I think this is a beautiful property. It's harmonious with the neighborhood and the street. And my view is, in the end, we're lucky to have such a nice looking home on a well-landscaped piece of property that doesn't have the usual bells and whistles. So I have no issue with it.
And I think when the pergola and these trellises are all covered in living things, I think it's going to be beautiful. I think we're looking at it now undeveloped, unnatured. I think it will make such a huge difference.
I think it can go both ways. I mean, I do think it's definitely unique. I can't remember the last time I saw where you enter to a property on foot going through this. So I think it's kind of, it can be interesting, and it may end up turning out quite nice, but I also see Esperanza's point that you're sort of blocking the house from the street. And I understand every owner wants to have privacy, but I also understand there's an argument too about, is this, is it closing the house too much off from blocking it from the street? Separately, this comment about the graphite color. Someone on the architectural review made, I think, a pretty wise comment. There's really nothing we can do because it was approved, but the color of the garage doors, and I don't know if we have a photo of it.
They weren't approved.
I feel like the color of the garage doors it would be better if they were white. It would draw attention away from the garage doors themselves. I think that was a pretty good observation. that if those were white, would your eye perhaps not be focused on a garage door so much, and it brings your eye more towards that pergola structure and what's beyond?
Yeah, I agree with. I agree with that. I mean, I take Esperanza's point on the pergola. I understand that, although I too, before Diane mentioned it, I think it will be softened once there are green things on it. It would not have been an element I probably would have approved if it hadn't been as built, but I'm willing to go with the notion that it'll be, covered in plant life. I don't know if that's something we can include in the resolution or not. My real big objection is the color of these garage doors. I mean, to my mind, that's just that all. I don't mind so much the trim on the windows and so forth, but to my mind, it takes away so much from the visual, from that welcoming, long corridor of the pathway and the greenery and the garden and everything as Ms. Canner has planned. I think those garage doors need to blend into the siding, whatever color that is. I don't know if it's white or off-white or whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing the shutters also similarly colored. I understand the point of having the garages at the road, and there are four, but there's four garage doors there, and they're very. I think that color is quite distinctive, and these are opposing colors, is white and this dark charcoal color. So I think that's really not in keeping. I think that's the most incongruent piece of this, to my mind, is that the colors of those doors.
But let's just say 10 years from now, let's say they paint these doors white, as some of you are suggesting. What's going to stop them 5 years from now by painting them green again? Who's going to enforce that? Who's going to enforce any colored choices on a house or service buildings?
Well, I take your point, Chip, but I don't know if enforcement,
who's going to police it? I mean, you can make the case that they should be white, or, we can make the case they should be any color, but I mean, is that our purview to tell people colors of houses?
It is, actually.
Yeah.
We are charged with
it does
evaluating color.
Yeah, it is part of our it's part of our checklist of, just to make sure the colors are in keeping. I mean, if they were Day-Glo pink, would you sign off?
These are traditional, looks like dark green, black green to me. But if you look at service buildings, carriage houses, estate buildings, often the trim was painted a dark color to match the window color. I mean, that's very traditional. And anywhere.
In Wainscott.
Anywhere.
Okay,
well, we're in Wainscott.
Right, but I would like to make the point that that's the case usually, but ordinarily the garages are not the front-facing building to the road. I think this is the difference here. This is the first thing you see when you come to this lovely house with this lovely addition and these beautiful grounds. Are these four black eyes? To my mind, I find it very distracting from the roadway. If they were turned to the side, if the doors, if the building, which of course they were not asking him to do, that's why I'm recommending to change color. If they were, if the entrance was to the side or something, it wouldn't be so prominent. But I think it's a real distraction. It's the first thing I said when I came on the property for the tour. I wish they were different. They were a more neutral color, something to blend in with the house.
To the point about sort of it being contextual in Wainscott, I mean, if you do drive down Main Street in Wainscott, buildings are fairly monochromatic.
Yeah.
The church, some industrial structures, many of them are all white. So I do think that there's perhaps an argument for that we don't see this color in like in a garage door, or some kind of a dark garage door in wainscot. It's typically, I'm not saying that we need to police and say it's all got to be cedar and white, but this question of what's like contextual in wainscot, at the end of Beach Lane, the elevation of the house is entirely white. Not saying that it has to be, everything in wainscot has to be white or cedar, but that's the context of wainscot.
Yeah,
but isn't there a house down on the left side that's an old Cape Cod house with shingles and it's got brilliant purple shutters? I mean, yes, there is.
They're blue, but not purple.
Blue, purple, yeah.
But it's a much smaller structure, and it's not a garage, not expanses. They're trim.
I'm not sure that it's right on the road. I mean, I think if this were at the back of the property and the house were in front of it, I wouldn't be making these comments.
I think I want to make one point here, which is, hi, everyone, and thank you very much. And again, it's Kimberly Cantor. The people who helped originally design this was Heiberg Cummings, and we used it based on 145 and 144 Sayers Path. And we almost literally copied exactly what they have there, which is two garages with two doors on each side. So 4-car garage in the front of the house. At the time when we first saw that, it was a dark blue color. Now it's a dark green color, but it's a white facility with green on Sayers Path just down the street. That was kind of our inspiration. Those had cupolas on them. You guys did not allow cupolas, so we got rid of the cupolas on the garages. But that was kind of the thought process there. And unfortunately, when this was already all part of the original design for the house, I still have no idea how what was submitted to you was submitted. And then 2 weeks later, the plan that I had agreed to was submitted to the building company. I mean, I have no idea why what was submitted to you was submitted versus 2 weeks later, what I had originally agreed to with regards to design of the house was then submitted. But as a note, the left-hand side of the house was black, and that was originally approved by the ARB, black. But I took that down and I made it white because, as you guys have noted, I could privet this whole thing and make it so that no one really sees any of this, which is what a lot of the buildings do in the area. I want to keep it open, but to me, this is kind of what works within the design perspective of the house. And I did modify a lot, hoping to take advantage of the community and like a whaling thought process and something a little less modern, like at the end of the street or what's being considered next to the Babinski house, across, at 69, close to 69 Beach Lane. I mean, from what I'm seeing, it just, this is really what we really think is going to be beautiful. We've gotten so many beautiful, amazing comments on it. Everyone keeps talking about how beautiful our house is, and we're just so proud of it. So I'm going to just leave it there, but I wanted to let you know that this was not something we came up with. It is definitely in wainscot. It's on Sayers Path. Those garages are dark green. They were at one point dark blue. It's been approved before. They're right off the street. So I just wanted to leave it there.
So it is.
Those homes don't come before us, so that wouldn't be a consideration for the Architectural Review Board, unfortunately.
No, but as Brad, you're talking about contextual to the wainscot streetscape.
Sayers Path
she's come up with
is
Sayers
not.
Path is part of wainscot.
Yes, but this is not the part of Sayers Path that we're discussing right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, well,
No, but you're saying that there's no garages like this in wainscot.
I
just
didn't
told you
say-
there are.
Well, I am looking here at 144 Sayers Path on a Google Street View.
I know
and
exactly the
agree-
property.
I do agree that I see here that they're green, but it's a bit of a different animal. I mean,
It is a different animal.
The
Thank you.
massing of that is not so prominent because the roof line pitches away from the street. It's not, the hip doesn't go to, but I don't want to get bogged down in this, but.
Okay, well, I understand Ms. Cantor's position. I don't, I think the board has given this its consideration. I don't think we're going to, change hearts and minds on this. People either like these doors or they don't. So I don't know where we are if we're trying to, oh my gosh, I just made that screen go away. Where we are with this in terms of providing it with a CO if we can't agree on these changes. First we have to approve the modification in order to facilitate the certificate of occupancy. So,
Kathy, why don't you poll the board and see what the view is?
okay.
I do have to state that I don't want us to be seen as somehow that we are being maybe perhaps difficult on the applicant here. And I mean the applicant, I mean the parties, plural. I don't want to go back into it, but there were, as stated at the beginning of this, there were many changes that were made that were not come before us. So let's just keep this in mind, that the imposition has been put on us to approve a lot of things that were not submitted to us. It's
right. That's a good point. And as a result, we still have to observe our process and use the standards that are required of us by the code. And I think we're doing the best we can to ameliorate the inconsistencies in how this application may have been treated through other departments and where it came before us and so on. So I think that Chip's idea of polling the board is a good one. How many people are in favor of accepting these changes as submitted? Can you just raise your hand or let me know?
Well, it's incomprehensible to me that the plans are so crazy and that a house that required this much care and attention ended up with such crazy plans, but I have no issue with what they built.
Okay. So I take that as a yes.
Yes.
Mooney, where are you on this? Esperanza?
Like I said from the beginning, I'm so appreciative of the patience that you've had. And I think, in general, it substantially conforms to the resolutions and is harmonious for the most part. If you would consider that comment about the garage doors at the very least, I'd be inclined to approve the modification.
Okay, so that's a qualified yes. Okay, Frank? So we have one yes, one
I'm
no.
in the same qualified camp. It's just the garage doors are the issue for me, everything else.
Okay, Diane?
I feel the same way that Chip feels.
Okay. All right, well, I'm a qualified camp, so we've got a 3-2 there. All right, so I think what we're going to have to do now, I'll need guidance on this because this is a complicated thing. David, what is your recommendation on how to proceed? The board seems to want, you're muted. The board seems to want the garage doors color to be changed, but beyond that, everything else seems to be acceptable to the board. So are we in a position to make a CO conditioned upon that? I don't know how this.
Is she willing to change the color?
Would Mrs. Cantor or Kimberly, would you be willing to consider something different? You're muted.
I mean, it's not what I want, but I obviously would consider it. I mean, Esperanza, it's not what I envisioned to be kind of a colonial beach Nantucket feel, and I've seen it around the areas, but if this is what's going to get the C of O, I mean, of course I'll paint it white. It's just not what I think matches the house.
We recognize that there's a different opinion here in the creative process, and I'm sorry that you're put in this position at so late in the game, but it seems to be the feeling of a majority of the board members that the garage doors should be consistent with the building, the color of the building. So, Sean, did you have something you wanted to say?
I guess I'm struggling with it because in most cases, a garage door is a different color from a building. Whether the garage, many buildings are cedar and you got the white doors, or doors have been painted like we've shown blue, or years ago, I mean, there was times when doors would be painted red and white and, things like that. I mean, they were distinctive from the rest of the building. And I'm struggling as to why this is a problem for the board. I guess with all the beauty that we've done there and the buildings and everything else looks so great, I don't know why we're harping down on just to these garage doors on something that historically has not always the same color as the rest of the building.
Right. I understand the point. And as I said to your client, there are going to be, I'm sorry that these creative differences have come to us so late in the game. But I think in the agricultural overlay district, where we do have purview over color choices and various things, and these escaped notice or they were done, I haven't read the plans. I'm just assuming that this would have been captured earlier and have informed your choices earlier, but for the problems that were, that surrounded your application. So I'm not sure that, so David, what's your recommendation?
You could, so if they decide to go along with it, you could approve it. You would need a color swath, I guess, or something to document what shade of white paint it would be. Or you could vote to approve the features minus the garage door, I guess, and but you would still then have that the garage. You would be able to get the CO. Then, so.
Yeah, I think they need a CO. I think. I don't know if we can condition an approval on the, assuming that the applicant.
Yes, you have jurisdiction over the exterior of, buildings in the ag overlay, and the aesthetic design includes the color of the garage door.
Right.
And I think that Frank and Esperanza have articulated the reasons why they, feel that way, that a particular color is necessary. And so, whether or not I agree or disagree, that is the basis of doing it, and you're within your rights.
Okay, well, what I need more is guidance on what to do with the application at this point. So it seems to me we can't approve the modification unless, we've got two situations here. This is my mother calling me to say goodnight. We've got two situations here, which is that we're trying to approve a modification.
Yes, I understand that.
And then they want CO. So it seems like we're gonna have to put the CO off for another time but how do we, I need to know what the legal process here is.
Are they going to agree to change it white? Then you just would do an approval as built with the understanding that it is painted white by a certain date.
Okay.
And the building department can issue a temporary CO in the meantime. And
You're probably having your meeting.
then if it's not painted, they will not issue the permanent CO.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be white.
Sorry, Diane, what did you say?
Why we would have to insist that it be white? Maybe if you think that the style that they've chosen is very deliberate, and we've agreed with so many other choices they've made that are about their perception of how they want to live in the style, and all of a sudden, why these doors have to be white? Maybe you don't want them to be so distinct, or maybe. But it just says it doesn't seem to be leaving anything up to, so much heart and soul has gone into this.
I think I would say to that there are many other decisions that were made without having come before the board, as Frank pointed out as well, that I think it's a consideration that we...
You penalize them for these decisions, Esperanza? That sounds what it sounds like.
Am I saying that, Chip? I think that's putting words in my mouth. I'm sorry.
That's a little aggressive. I think that's a little aggressive. I prefer to have this kind of aggressive conversation between our board members. It's not a penalty. That is not a penalty. This was not approved. It's within our purview.
So Kathleen,
if it's white or not, I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
I don't care if it's white or not. I want it to match better the walls. If they want to come back with like a light gray or something, the contrast of this color, I don't want to rob them of their creative input, but this dark color is too much. It's too much. It's too much of a contrast. So if it's not the same color as the building, which seems to be white, it could be maybe a light gray or some other thing. Maybe that's not as offensive. I don't know. I just don't know how much longer we want to pull this along. I think we can agree that if the color of the door is the same as the color of the wall, we could then proceed to the certificate of occupancy. If the applicants choose to submit another color besides white, that's their prerogative. And we'll just keep it open until such time as we've had that color sample submitted to us and we can make a decision about it. But I'm going to leave that up to the applicant.
I might propose also, if the applicant wanted to come back in front of the board, here's one thing that they could do is you could take a photograph from the street. You could Photoshop the color of the doors. You could do it white. You could do it and just come with us back to us and say, this is what we are proposing. And that's one route we could do this.
Well, I think the color of the walls is called decorator's white. You guys have all seen it. It's got a little bit of a blue in it. It's the color of the whole house and the garage. We'll just paint it that color. If that's the color, that's it. That's the color of the walls. That's the color of the trim. That's what it will be painted.
Why don't we have them paint it white, and then we can bring it up at the next meeting that they've painted it white, and then approve everything and give them their C of O.
Can we just paint it say we'll have it painted by a certain date and just?
I think that might be the best thing, and then we'll just accelerate. Once that's done, we can do the C of O, because right now we're still adjusting the modification here. So I think the proposal is to approve the as-built drawings as submitted, except for the color of the garage doors, which the applicant has agreed to paint the same color as the walls of the garage by, I don't know, tell me a date that works for you. You need 60 days or 90 days. I don't know. It's hard to get people to do things these days. So
probably do it in 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, so that's good. And then I don't want to put words in your mouth, Esperanza, but I think that if that's a proposal you feel comfortable with, then I would submit that that's the proposal we should vote on now, if we have a second.
Yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
So I would make the motion to approve the modification with the condition that the garage doors will be repainted in the same color as the siding of the garages.
Okay, and that all other changes are acceptable as submitted.
That's what I guess. I approved.
Okay, I may have missed that. Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I'm opposed, yes.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
opposed.
Opposed. All right, so 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry this has been like pulling teeth, but we're looking at the end of this process. So thanks very much for your cooperation. Okay.
Thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
So what's our next steps at this point?
So what do we do about the CO?
The modification?
David, what do we do about the CO?
I'm going to be typing with David a resolution for the modification. Once they paint the garage doors and send us renderings, we can put them back on for the CO and we'll go out and investigate.
Is the board ready to issue a CO right now?
Could we do the CO and then by the time I don't know.
Well, I would just be holding on to it.
I'm willing to do the CO with the condition that it's a conditioned approval. I don't know if we do that.
So when the building department goes out.
We absolutely do.
Yes.
Okay. So then let's do that and we'll get it done with. And then they have some sense of closure.
Yes. So so I can go ahead and instruct staff to advise the building department that this application substantially conforms and is ready for a certificate of occupancy conditional upon the garage doors being repainted to the same color as the siding of the garage, which is decorator's white.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, you're good to go. All right, we've conditioned your CO. I hope that helps take a little of the sting out of having to change the garage door color. Okay, have a good night, folks. Thank you. Whew. Okay, now I see Regina is with us. Grant, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-8.10. Excuse me. It's read it again. 300-196-1-8.10. 15 Wainscott Hollow Road. Okay, Esperanza, this is yours.
Hello, Regina.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you.
Sorry, my features were turned off on the Zoom. I'm like, it's been 2 hours. Who
Yes.
turned them off?
Thank you for staying on with us.
We'll make it quick.
So I think so, hopefully. At the December 9 meeting of last year, the board requested a landscape screen plan for the south and east sides of the tennis court fencing on the property at 15 Wainscott Hollow Road.
Correct.
So that fencing is at 8 feet maximum height. It's about 320 feet in total. And what is being proposed are planting green giant arborvitaes at about 5 to 6 feet in height each. They would be placed 4 feet apart, approximately along 110 feet of the east fence and 60 feet of the south fence. So about 26 trees in total, if I read the application correctly.
Correct. I think they were more than 26.
Well, yeah, it was hard to read that, so I might have misread.
Yeah, I tried to do it like 4 feet from trunk to trunk, so that's
right.
Sort of...
Yes, I did read that. So we have a survey where you marked out how that would look, and then we have pictures also of the site. So that's it. Could you zoom in on that, Will, please? So essentially the consideration was, I think, a bit of noise mitigation as well as visual mitigation to the agricultural reserve area, and next door the property that says Hedges, which has quite a bit of quite an old house on that property, and is also seems to have an agricultural use, and maybe some pictures, unless somebody has a question about this.
The east side was the horse farm.
That's right. Yes, the ag reserve area.
White fence we could see. I sent pictures of standing on the horse farm in March.
Through the hedge, correct?
See if you can see the black fence, and you'd have to be really looking for it.
Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you for submitting those pictures, because I know that was, we were talking about how the hedge would screen already from that ag reserve area where the horse farm is, and once the pictures are pulled up, we can see how that looks. This is basically from the house out toward you could see through the tennis court fencing into the ag reserve area where the white fencing for the horse farm is.
Correct. And then the recent from the other side, that's the pictures I sent recently.
Yes. Yeah. These are my photos, actually.
Yeah, these are no doubt. See that white fence.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. That's the photo you took, right, Regina?
Correct. And that was in March, when there wasn't any leaves on the privet. I just wanted to see if that black fence was still an issue.
Mm-hmm. And that's
that's the south side. That's
south
bad.
Side. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely needs a buffer in there.
So here's, I just wondered, I mean, the green giants, they grow substantially and quickly. Was that intentional to have something that would really truly screen that so much? Or, I mean,
it was more that they don't get eaten by the deer.
Oh, okay.
And there really isn't very many things they don't eat anymore. So you'd have the bottom 4 feet would be stripped, which wouldn't really help not seeing the fence through it. So it's either green giants. I think the new owner was thinking more like red cedars, which I don't know. I think they've been starting to eat some of the cedars. So, I think we would probably have to keep them trimmed back.
And the deer get in here, obviously, because you don't have.
Well, it's only a 4-foot fence.
Right. Yeah.
Going back to the pool. So I'm pretty sure they jump that easily.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know what the board thinks about this. This property is really nicely open. There's scenic easements. There's the ag reserve. I'm of two minds with the whole screening thing. I would hate to look at this fence if I lived there.
No doubt. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, me too.
But I have a problem with the south side. The back side where the horse farm is, I honestly, I don't know who that it would bother on that end. But if it's something we need to do, we do.
And so you're considering the screening to be right next to the fence as opposed to putting it closer to the property line where the 4-foot fencing is?
Well, the south side is going to be pretty close to where the fencing is. We might even, we can't go into the easement, but I think that fence for the pool is a little crooked.
Yes.
So we probably just push it so that at least the line was straight.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can zigzag or something like that. But they do get big, and I would probably have to trim them occasionally.
Right. So I don't know. I'll leave it.
That won't be right up against the tennis court fence or the easement, sort of in the middle.
I see.
The one on the back, I don't want to put it too close to the privet because we're going to have to trim the privet.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be an issue trying to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put it, somewhere in between.
So just to remind myself and the board, you were seeking approval for this fence, and that's why we are also asking for the vegetative screening. Is that
correct?
Accurate,
correct.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that that's okay. What does everyone think, please?
She wants to go.
We
home.
have the authority to require landscaping.
Honestly, when this came before us.
Elements, sometimes, Chip, if the applicant agrees to it and it's related to the structure that is being proposed, that is not something that we can't just do it if there's no benefit to it, but we're allowed to require screening, especially with the consent of the applicant.
Okay.
What was the question?
Do we have authority?
The question was, do we have the authority to require landscaping? In the past, I didn't think we did, but this seems like a special situation because you've agreed to do it.
Well, it was the request of the ARB that we cover the fence. The fence is the issue. And
Yeah,
you guys
soften it.
so I can get a permit for the fence because it was already there without a permit. So
I have no issue with it. Then.
Approval, and then we could put the hedge up or whatever, and then get the permit and get the C of O for all the outbuildings that I've already gotten permits for.
Is this a 10-foot fence? Is this?
No, it's 8.
It's 8 feet. I actually went
on the application.
Yeah, I know, and I actually went again.
Yeah.
To measure because I was confused again, and it is 8 feet.
Yeah, and it is lower on that other side near the pool.
Okay.
Like 4 foot on.
Make sure that's clear in the resolution because it can't be 10 feet, right? So, okay.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So does anybody else have any other comments on this application?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Frank, I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, so we came to the conclusion that we can require screening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine if I'm behind that. I think we should specify a minimum height of screening. You know, is it 4 feet? Is it 6 feet? I think I'd be fine with just like 4, 6.
I would, yes, I agree.
Just say
that
like
was my-
minimum 4 feet, like planting around that fence. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, my fear in the green giants is that they get giant and then you'd have these, unwieldy trees everywhere, but you seem to be on top of that, Regina.
Yeah, if they get crazy, we cut them back. We trim them.
Okay.
Everything gets crazy that the deer don't eat. We don't have the deer trimming them all the time.
So given that, I mean,
I still have to do the east side part?
Facing the house? No.
No, it was the east side is facing the horse farm, the ag reserve.
Correct.
Right.
And that has a privet that goes between this property and the ag reserve horse farm. So Regina's question is, would she still have to do that or just concentrate on the south side, which is really fairly open with the scenic easement?
Very obvious.
Perhaps we say can we say either or? Like it must be screened either at the lot line by 6 feet of screening or 4 feet of the tennis court? Kind of either or.
Well, it's two different sides of the fence. One has no privet at all. The horse farm and the east side has a tall privet, pretty thick, which kind of screens it already. So I didn't know if that was an issue and we just needed to do the south side because that is a big issue. And size wise, we're probably going to go 5 to 6 anyway to start for height.
I'm of the mind that the south side is the more sensitive side. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, 5 to 6 feet, I think we hope it wouldn't grow too much taller than that, or it may begin to interfere with the view shed of
Yes,
the agricultural land there.
I mean, the new owner was thinking of red cedars, which are probably going to get pretty tall. I can try to find alternate to keep the height down.
Right, as long as you can find something that's deer resistant. I mean, I understand that.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's fairly hard, maybe you need holly bushes or something, but anyway. Yeah,
they eat that too.
Really? Ugh.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure something out. Something's got to go there.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so essentially, I mean, I think we're approving the tennis court fencing that was existing. Is everybody fine with the 8 feet?
Yeah, that's okay.
And
Yes.
We are recommending that you use a vegetation screen, particularly for the east side of that tennis court.
South side.
South side, right? South?
Sorry, south side. Yes.
Yeah, that's the
Thank
nasty
you.
part.
Yes.
Okay. All right, is everybody in agreement with that proposal? Board members?
Yes.
Yes.
Chip, you good?
Diane?
Yes.
All right. So I make a motion to approve the application for the tennis court fencing at 8 feet and proposed screening in particular on the south side of the tennis court.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, is anybody opposed? All right, you're good to go. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your time. I'm so sorry I didn't catch you the first time
Now,
around.
listen, we got to you. You were second.
Okay, go home.
Yeah, well, most of us are home, but anyhow, okay. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good
Bye.
evening. All right, next, excuse me, is Madeline Venton here?
I thought I saw her
Yeah,
earlier.
she left.
She left? Okay, well then we'll skip, hopefully she'll
Well,
come back.
it's a CO. They don't need to be present for a CO.
Oh, they don't? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so Moby's is next. Can you get that picture up for me, please? Whoever's doing these pictures for a certificate of occupancy. The replacement of existing doors with light divided light folding doors with top and bottom track is illustrated on specification rendering contained in the architectural board file. This was a resolution adopted on June 24th, 2021. A 6-foot retractable, incorrectly spelled awning located above the doors. Again, awning misspelled to be the color white and contain no scallops or valance or lettering. So it comports to the resolution. That's the picture. And I'd like to move that we, oh, okay, I don't know what this language is. Direct staff, someone has
Instruct staff to advise the building department?
Yes, can we instruct staff to advise the building department that
the application is
ready for C of O.
For a certificate of occupancy. Okay, thank you. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? All right, so it's carried. Great. So Maddie's gone. All right, now we're on El Buco, Suffolk County Testament number 300-171-2-4. You want to bring the pictures up, please? Diane took such nice pictures. Diane, this is yours.
Yes. Okay, this is the seasonal enclosure that was suggested by El Buco, and they took our advice and made it and matched the gray of some of their trim. It's called Starlight Gray, and it's exactly conforms to our resolution, and it looks very nice and tidy. And they got it up before the
Winter's over.
The worst of the winter is over, but they got it up. So unless anyone has any questions or reservations,